buy a jumbo jet. It wasn't easy, but nothing is. No. When I feel heavy metal, and I feel that I need when I lie and I'm easy all of the time, but I'm never sure why I need you. Because I need you. I got my head down when I was young. It's not my problem. It's not my problem. Woo! When I feel heavy metal, and I feel that I need when I lie and I'm easy all of the time, but I'm never sure why I need you. Because I need you.
There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a
Sirius XM Sports presents At the Races with Steve Bick. Horse racing, handicapping, interviews. This is At the Races with Steve Bick.
A very good Friday, race fans. Sirius 162 XM 207 Sports Zone 999. If you're listening to Sirius XM online and at our website, stevebeck.com. Right? Did I say that? It's an absolutely glorious day, and hopefully it leads in to this holiday weekend and officially and formally, and here we are. Memorial Day on Monday. Summer's here. We have a parade in Greenwich. Not that we need summer for a parade in Greenwich. Although it is the start of, I guess, technically, yeah, it's the start of parade season here. There'll be Memorial Day, July 4th. Before July 4th, there'll also be Whipple City Days parade. Then July 4th, then Veterans Day, then the Halloween parade and the Christmas parade. Forget it. And as Andy said the other day, it's torture for anybody trying to go from Saratoga County to Vermont or the other way. It brings everything to an absolute standstill. We're going to talk in a second before Nick Tamaro joins us, and we'll do some cross country, Aqueduct and Monmouth, and I'll give you a terrific. We got terrific fun lineup. We got to do the action from yesterday at Indy in a second, and yeah, we're gonna pull that out. But at the same time, if you have not looked ahead, we already knew that today's card at the Big A was very attractive. Then I don't know where you want to go. We'll talk to Hammer in hour 3, and Santa Anita's got a fabulous Gold Cup holiday weekend, particularly tomorrow and Monday. Monday Hollywood Gold Cup Day, but tomorrow with the 5 Calbred Stakes and a very good Calbred card, and then on Sunday they turn around the Santa Monica and the Daytona, and it's a terrific card. Churchill, I don't think Scully and I and KK, Kevin Kirstein's going to be on as well as Scully. I don't think we'll get too far into Monday because, we always do Holiday Monday visits, and I'll ask Nick, but I imagine Nick is famous for his Monday holiday visits. Churchill's card on Monday with the winning colors. The winning colors is just, the stake portion. The rest of my gauge on how good these cards are when I go to look at these stakes, and then essentially, go to print the stake out, and then I look at what's ahead of it, what's behind it. Next thing you know, I've printed out 6 or 7 races. That is the case for Churchill on Monday. We don't even have the New York and Santa Anita cards yet. Everywhere you look, there's, I think, something that will intrigue you. Brandon Lee, Jazzman Brandon, is going to join us probably in hour 3 after Hammer. And I know you can't bet on it unless you're right there, unless you're within the confines of the Texas border. However, it's this is always a big weekend at Lone Star, and the Steve Sexton Mile is the graded stake, of course, but there's also the Texas Derby. There's the Ouija board. There's the sprints. They run the turf sprint for Chamberlain Bridge, and then the Speightstown sprint as well. And there's one more, the Memorial Day sprint. Memorial Day sprints for the Phillies, and the Speightstown for the boys. Or if a Philly wants to, I don't know why they would, because I think the purses are the same. They are, and the distance is the same. And I guess the Phillies would get a weight break, but no real reason to do that. So the 6 and 7 we see and talk about. Anyway, not only do they have a great holiday Monday Memorial Day stake card, it's a big contest weekend, and a lot of players gravitate and head to Grand Prairie. So Brandon will visit. They give away 2 seats today, 2 seats on Saturday, and 8 on Monday. 2, 2, and 8. So a dozen NHC seats available the next 72 hours. Or, well, actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, let me see. Is it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday? I hadn't thought about that. So 14 seats. Let me make sure of that. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. All right. So back to 12. Like in Lake Placid. There's two. Back to 1. Tina and I, there's certain movies, you got the cable, you got the 39 movie channels. There's certain movies that we stop and just watch, whatever point it is. Lake Placid being one of them. And I'm sure that's true for you, right? It is so good. And I won't even say it's so bad that it's good, because it's so good that it's good. Lake Placid. So anyway, it's a big holiday weekend of racing, and get tied on, as they say. There's something for everybody. So Nick Tamero. We will check in with Brian Skirka as well. Brian's got the Monmouth contest, the pick your prize to get excited about. So we're going to touch base with Brian. Get out ahead of it, so you could. But I mean, there's a lot of particularly East Coast players that look ahead to pick your prize. That'll be a week from Saturday, June 1. All right, but I wanted to give Brian a shot and catch up on these first couple of weeks on the shore. All right, so Nick Tamero, Brian Skirka, KK. Check in with KK. They had some dangerous weather last night, but it didn't really wasn't a nightmare or anything. It just delayed between the 5th and the 6th. But I also want KK to showcase his Horseman video series. Callie's going to stop by. We'll get a couple minutes in with Callie. I want her to recap and get a handle on how everybody recovered Sunday through yesterday or today at Pimlico. Hi-ho. So we'll touch base with Callie. Marcus Hirsch is back after a brief freshening. Marcus is back. He doesn't have a lot of time, but we'll do some game plan. We'll get his we never got his Derby recapping, but we'll get his thoughts 2/3 of the way through the Triple Crown. Scully, of course, within the first 2 hours this morning. I mentioned Hammer. I mentioned Brandon. There you go. There's the lineup. Got to talk about what happened yesterday at Horseshoe Indianapolis. And this was, we said it was going to be a challenge. It was not an easy sequence, but I was very, in fact, I reconvened with Rachel afterward last night, and we did all right in terms of laying out some good ideas. There were two, really tough, particularly tough horses. I thought, obviously, to come up with, and things started out exactly as we discussed. Although I will mention, I thought if I gave you bad information about Pickle Feet yesterday, I'm sorry, but I could have sworn when I looked at a set of scratches that Pickle Feet was scratched. Might have turned out to have been. Let me look at that. May have turned out to have been. No, it wasn't even a jot change. So I could have sworn maybe it was some other. I do click the button, the scratches only button. So I don't know. I may have just not seen it right. Anyway, I didn't think Pickle Feet had to be used anyway, and or feared. And sure enough, Butch's best, as suggested with Orlando Mojica for Rob Dobbs. Wired that field as the co-second choice. So 7:20 to get it started. Rachel said, and she was 100% right, the second leg, that starter, was a very confusing group. And she said, if you could afford it, it might even be an all button. And that would have got you to the 2380 winner, that kick out the jams. This was Richard Estebanco. And this was not an easy. This was not. I look back. I mean, this was not an easy horse to. I won't. I'll say this: there was a series last summer when the horse was in top form and ran through a series of wins and placements at Belterra and at Indy. One start at Indy and 4 or 5 at Belterra, and was in career best form. Then seemed to tail off a little bit at the end of the fall and spent the winter at Turfway, where she did win a race for 12.5. And from a fig standpoint, she was not as strong. But here she was getting back on the turf. And I mean, that's, I guess, how you get to her at 11-1. Paid $23.80. So that was the first horse that was a challenge. The second one was Three Coats for Mike Lauer. And Mike Lauer does a tremendous job. This was Sammy Bermudez, the horse that I talked about. What About Now, who was a crazy 30-1, ran very, very well, but was still 3 lengths behind the winner. So the winner was 20-1, paid $43.20, and this was that maiden special Indy group that was just, the ones that had run were just meh. They were okay. There was nothing distinguishing about them. The firsters were, the George Leonard. We gave you the 0 for 17, and sure enough, she ran, barely a step in her debut. The other one, that's So Tempting for Dr. Gorham, really didn't run that great either. So among the ones that had run, I mean, the favorite, Outlaw Woman, She just kind of went around and chased, but 3 coats, 43-20, and what about now? 34-1, and just wasn't, was good but not good enough. The exacta, and how about our man Smoking Joe? Joe backwheeled. What about now? So he caught the $650 exacta. That was for $2. The try paid $1,900 with "Give Me Some Money." That was the Randy Klopp, and that was a horse. It's funny, that horse at 7-1. That horse did not run badly in her debut. I mean, she was a cloud. First of all, she's a cloud computing. So from a stallion standpoint, highly respectable from the pedigree side, and she was bet in her debut. She was a little under 3-1. So this was a horse that took money in the debut. There was some anticipation, showed some speed, like we talked about yesterday. It was a horse that showed speed in the debut, and did the same thing here. Ended up got beat by 6 and change, but at 7-1, a little better than getting beat at 3-1. And she helped trip the $1,900 50-cent try. So part of the point of all this is, even if you didn't hit the pick 5 and the pick 4 and the carryovers, and we'll talk about the money that was bet into this, which was, I mean, that's a whole different story. Then there was Otego at 6-1 for Kelsey Danner, and as it turns out, he had to hold on late. That Degree of Risk, I told you there were only 2 horses to use to get through. Degree of Risk was the other one at 6-1, and he was coming late. But Abel Cedillo holds safe with the favorite, and so 440, and that gets you to the nightcap. And luck of the draw. This was not a, it was an 8-horse field. This was not an easy horse necessarily, to get to. You probably had a fairly deep, probably went 3. You had to probably go 3-4 deep to get to luck of the draw. Ends up winning wire to wire, which is the way that he won, and is really the only win on the page, which was a claimer at Belterra last July. And it's very interesting. This is a horse that otherwise, when he doesn't get the lead, he doesn't win. And so the 7-pound bug, right? How about that? The 7-pound bug. This is Andres Calleja. Good for him. Good for him. And that you very often, when you see bugs, that's what you see often, right? That's why you use a bug. But that featherweight on there. And the horse is owned by Bentley Combs, which I thought was fun, and trained by Joel Dela Cruz. So $13. Now, here's your mutuals. Let me get Nick, actually, because we were talking about this last night. For starters, I thought that they would bet $500,000. They bet $856,000. Unbelievable. The pick 5 paid $23,940. That's a good, and that's a fair. Sometimes when it's a tough sequence and you think, I did all this and I built the ticket, and I didn't. This was a nice return, $24,000 essentially. So congratulations. And I wasn't around panning on the internet looking for success stories, but I'm sure you're out there. The pick 4 took in $360,000, unbelievable, and paid $61.46. So this was really worthwhile trying. And even if you didn't hit either of the big multis, you might have, the work can pay off in other fashion, but within the races. If you don't look at this kind of thing, Horseshoe Indianapolis yesterday did $4,635,000 in handle. This is one of the best success stories in the game. Nobody seems to really, want to acknowledge it. But Indy is like a mid major, right? The mid major, like Creighton. They're the Creighton of racing. It's a great success story, and really a tribute to what Eric Ahlstrom and his staff have done, and being clued in to the horse players' needs and interests. I mean, this was largely Indiana-bred action, but sizable fields and interesting exercises and handicapping get rewarded, and by our attention as players, and deservedly. So, 4.6 million on a Thursday. Yeah. Horseshoe, Indianapolis. Get with the program. Nick Tamero is going to join us for a bunch of things, and Nick, in addition to all of Nick's other responsibilities, Nick frequently is found on the other end of phones when various enterprises around the game want a horse player's opinion, and of course was added to the HISA board, the HISA. The HISA Junior Achievers. I'm in that kind of mood.
The future stars.
Yes, future star board. But Nick is Eric Ahlstrom utilizes Nick for insights, and I just went through the Indy sequence yesterday. It's really quite something.
Yeah, no. How about those handle numbers? You and I were texting about it last night. I was at the track in the middle of the card, and I saw the number and was like, wow, incredible. It's been a tremendous job Eric's done. But the thing is, Eric's done a great job everywhere. It's about time people really recognize it. And I think the manner in which he's gone about getting their handle up and really legitimizing their signal has really been incredible. And not to take away from anybody who was there before, but they have a marquee announcer. They have a simulcast broadcast that is very engaging, and obviously, Rachel is visible on social media, so there's always a lot of chatter. They run on the right days of the week. Now, this is a place that was running at night and barely handling $1 million 5 years ago. Right, 5-6 years ago. So it's pretty incredible what he's done, and he deserves all the credit for sure.
Well, and he's constantly, they're constantly trying to come up with new, different, the innovative, and that's what's required. Then you fold in, the utilizing the state bred program, aggressively and putting together 8, 9, 10 horse fields. Well, look at Turfway over the winter. It's no different. It was no different there. Players make it very clear what their interests are. Nick, let's do a little recap of Pimlico and the Preakness outcome, which may not have been rewarding for everybody from a betting standpoint, but basically furthered the dialogue we've been having since Derby, that this is we're having a very, very good Triple Crown.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think last week's results did anything to move me a different direction. I think both of the wins so far in the Triple Crown series have been likable in the sense that they were reasonable horses that paid juicy prices that you could have made cases for. I didn't like either one of them, and that's no great surprise to me or anybody who listens to me, the few of you who are left. But, they were horses that you knew when they turned down the backstretch, and you got a sense of what was going on the front end, that Seize the Grey was about to get very brave. And by the time they hit the far turn, he looked like he was going pretty easy. He opened up a little bit. It was an excellent ride by Jaime Torres, who's a very good rider, and really, I think, had a lot of the credit that he deserved coming up in New York, he probably didn't get. It's very hard to be an apprentice up there, right? And to try and make your bones in that kind of circuit. But it was an excellent ride. What can you say about Wayne Lukas at this stage of his career? It's incredible. I was talking to one of the placing judges at Sam Houston, and he's from Baltimore originally. He's probably in his early 60s or so. And he was telling me his first Preakness was in 1980 when Wayne Lukas won with Codex. So it's just incredible to think that he has Preakness wins 44 years apart and, had one, 11 years ago. And yeah, it was quite some time before that. But this is a guy that really revolutionized horse racing from a training perspective and has not only produced a number of successful trainers afterwards, but still knows how to win big races and is willing to run his horses, which, that's a good thing. I do kind of laugh and I was going to text Jay Privman and tell him it's long overdue that he put out the same tweet he does on a yearly basis, which is that it's funny that Lukas has more or less become racing's grandpa because his relationship with the media really wasn't always that way. And now it is definitely, as he's gotten on in years a little bit, he's become I think a character that it becomes exceptionally easy to like, grabbing kids and bringing them to the winner's circle at Oaklawn and anywhere else. And, always gathering up people in the paddock at Saratoga. And, I'll remember one of my earliest memories of being in the paddock at Saratoga is seeing him come in with the bright red sport coat or the green sport coat that he was wearing on that given day. And, he just had an aura about him. He was Wayne Lukas. He was the guy that we saw on the ABC Wide World of Sports broadcast left and right. So it's amazing at 88, even with a cane, he's still on the pony left and right. And he's obviously still doing a tremendous job. And people are giving him good horses. And you know what? There's no reason not to, right? The guy won the Kentucky Oaks 2 years ago and continues to train at a high level. It's a good result for racing additionally because he is a guy who's going to run his horses. And this Triple Crown is we're on the verge of seeing horses run 3 times during the sequence, which should at least maybe put a temporary stop on some of the chatter about the sequence itself and whether there needs to be more time or this or that. So it was enjoyable from that perspective. Some of the machinations by the Stronach Group with the track conditions and taking the races off the turf. I wish they had been a little bit more player friendly. They are player friendly in a lot of ways, so I don't want to beat them up. But there are things that they could have probably handled a little bit differently, and they know that. So obviously the 5th should have come off the turf much earlier. It was pretty clear the weather was not going to be conducive to being on the turf, and I don't really know what I find the whole. I guess one of my beefs with the whole thing, Steve, and I could go on a rant that would last probably 10 of your shows, but is that a lot of people in the racing industry act like people who bet on racing are dumb. And they're not, right? People who bet on horses in general are actually pretty smart. So you can tell me a track is good, and I can look at it, and I can tell you that it's not. So you didn't need to try and tell us on Saturday that track was good. That track was muddy, if not sloppy. And by the time the Preakness ran, it was 100% muddy, if not sloppy. So I actually think it has more of a deleterious effect than people realize when you're telling them it's good or wet fast or whatever, ridiculous designation you want to put on it that obviously takes away from actually using the word muddy or sloppy. It was also Preakness Day. People were going to bet no matter what. The condition of the dirt didn't really matter, right? It might have affected the way they would handicap, but it was just one of those where it was like, just tell me exactly what the condition is and I'll decide what I'm going to bet. So, but otherwise, we are about to send Pimlico off into the sunset. I think I read yesterday, the only thing that'll be there next year for Preakness 150 is the existing grandstand structure, the glass enclosed buildings, not the part that's been condemned in the early stages of this remodel. So it is it's an exciting time for Maryland racing, at least as the future looks, but it'll be a couple of years where it'll be a little difficult en route to getting there.
Yeah, they rightly wanted to have Preakness 150 on the grounds as opposed to at Laurel, so I understand that. And then Laurel a year, and then ideally back at the new building. And one thing that was notable to me, Dick, and it's been such a busy now 3 weeks, frankly, going back to the 2 weeks post Derby and these 5 days. And maybe it's why we relish and anticipate, these weekends more than others. a lot of the big Saturdays that we dealt with, leading up to Churchill and Oaks Derby and then Black Eyed Susan, Pimlico Special, Preakness. The Saturdays had been, just numbingly chalky, and the prices that that make that draw us to play were just not, they just weren't there. These 4 race days have been very juicy, and there's been plenty of opportunity. And if it isn't necessarily on the win end, in some cases, it's been underneath or in multis. The wagering has been really worthwhile these 2 big weekends.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think that's why we look forward to them. That's part of a larger conversation in general, I think, but about whether we have too much racing, period, which I think quite clearly we do. But obviously it's not that simple. You can't just say, okay, well then everybody needs to run less, because there's also a hoard of purse money out there in a lot of places. And you can't upset the competitive balance by having one circuit run allowance races for $200,000. And there's one neighboring it that is running for significantly less, and expect there to not be some natural attrition as well. Perhaps there should be, but yeah, these cards end up being super competitive, and it looks like we're heading towards what on paper looks like a really competitive Belmont. I don't know. Obviously, if fierceness worked this morning. Mike Welsh sort of indicated that Mindframe kind of outworked him on the gallop out, which is no surprise. Mindframe's been a very, very good workhorse, and obviously is a very talented horse. So, the Belmont should be a super competitive race. I would imagine Sierra Leone will be a rather slight favorite. I can't imagine he'd end up being some kind of big favorite. And he's a horse who doesn't wow anybody on paper with his running style and his speed figures. So, hopefully we'll get some decent sized fields those few days up at Saratoga as well. I like that Naira is taking the week off leading up to it, because that'll undoubtedly help the overnight races as well. So that should be a lot of fun. And yeah, we're at a point where really there's about 1.5, if even that, days of really competitive racing on a weekly basis. And, Saturday usually is it. And some of these, as you indicated, some of these days had gotten very chalky in the lead up to the Triple Crown days. So, we'll take all the good competitive racing we can get, no question.
Let's dive in. Where are we going?
We can talk about the cross country real quick. It's a fun little sequence with Belmont at the Big A and Monmouth in the mix. It starts at Aqueduct. I don't really know what to call this meet. I keep calling it Aqueduct, but I guess it's BAQ. And it starts there in the stake race, the Pennine Ridge, which historically had been run the weekend before the Belmont, but is being moved up a week, with the weekend before the Belmont now being dark. And, it's redemption shot for Legend of Time. We'll see if Legend of Time is able to bounce back off that poor effort in the American turf. He ran poorly in there, Steve. There's no arguing. He did not run well, because that pace held together. Nobody really came with a big off-the-pace move. Lagados came from the farthest back. Trickery was never that far out of it. Formidable Man was on the lead. And this horse just basically got buried on the front end. So with that said, he's the lone speed in here. If he wants to show speed, if Rosario puts him on the lead, that's it. There's no keeping up with him. So I think it'll be interesting to see where he's positioned early. I think if he's forwardly placed, he'll be very tough. One of the interesting horses is Risk Tolerance. One door to the outside, Chad Brown for Klarovich. Obviously, we've seen them have success in these 3-year-old turf races in the past, and a lot of them have been Euro-bred horses, like this Son of Kingman, who was a pretty game and convincing winner on debut, now steps up in class. You've got to deal with the question, of course, of can he handle the class jump alone, and will he race as effectively without Lasix? But he clearly is a horse with a lot of talent, and I would expect a forward move here as well, given how lightly raced he is. He definitely looks better on paper than his stablemate White Palomino, who's on the inside. So I'd probably start it with those two, Legend of Time and Risk Tolerance. I know it's chalky, but it feels like the majority of the time the winner comes from that pair.
Sounds good. 3-2. And let me turn to my my listing that lays out the sequence so I can get everybody tuned in. Monmouth is the second leg. It's actually Aqueduct 7th and 8th, Monmouth 7th, 8th, and 9th, and the 7th goes between the two Belmont races.
Right, so that 7th at Monmouth is the cliffhanger.
Yes, which is good.
And Data Man comes back. It is a good field. Data Man comes back off the Henry Clark, which he won at 5.5 to 1. And interestingly, on the morning line at least, he's the second choice to Forever Super, who was favored in the Henry Clark and did have a trouble trip. So I do think that there's going to be plenty of support for Forever Super. He did get in a little traffic in mid-stretch. I think that kept him from really producing that final bid. I would say, even if he has a cleaner trip, I don't know why he's so much likelier to win than Data Man. It's an interesting question with Data Man, though, because Graham Motion over the years has been really, really good off layoffs. So I wonder if this horse was really ready to roll last time out and if he'll take the requisite step forward to win again. Perhaps he doesn't even have to move forward. He can just run as well as he did last time out. I wanted a price in here, but the more I dug into it, the less really I found. It felt to me like it was, again, going to be somewhat chalky. I'm Captain Obvious here, but 5 and 7 looked like the right numbers. And, maybe if there's a world in which you could give some consideration to General Jim, who started his career on turf and showed that he had some ability on turf, but then really got good when he was allowed to sprint and mile on the main track. He didn't have much chance in the Hall of Fame last year, kind of spun out wide on both turns. And that ended up obviously being a much stronger race than I think people would have thought at the time, with Carl Spackler and More Than Looks in there. But so maybe I could use him as a backup. He'd be the only one that offers value that I could really see.
Well, I got one question because I brought it up yesterday when we did the Win Using Thorograph with Jeff Franklin. Laughing Boy. And I was shocked when the line came out late yesterday, 20 to 1 on Laughing Boy.
I guess he's the lone speed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. There are no words, has some speed, and I guess Wade Dataman's not supposed to be that far off of it. But Jacobson honestly on the turf is kind of an auto toss for me. Not an auto toss, but he's a horse. He's a guy that I really don't take very seriously. I can't figure David Jacobson out at all. I'm not ever on the right side of his horses. I feel like some of them look like a cinch and they don't run at all. And when I think that they have no chance, they get bet and they win for fun. So he's not the worst 20 to 1 shot to throw in just with the pace edge, but his last turf race at Delaware, September of last year, was certainly not bad. He'd have to run a heck of a lot better to win this race, but maybe he could get there on the front end.
Well, and that race he ran, and again, this is all figure based. The race he ran in the Excelsior, if he's within range of that, in fact, look at this. I just pulled up Timeform. Timeform's got him as on top as the power pick.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I believe it. He was definitely on a good rail in that Excelsior, and it was sort of an embarrassing DQ, but it's not the craziest idea. Usually one of the keys to long-term success betting price horses is trying to do it in extreme pace scenarios, and that's exactly the case here.
Exactly right. All right, back to Belmont we go, and this is a state bred, the scenario that I love, long on the turf state breds.
Yeah, this is your category.
It is
always been the one that you like the most.
Yes.
And it's as you've often said, it's very, very competitive. I think you kind of have to decide where to go. Smoky Eyes is obvious, right? She's run well against allowance competition in the past at this level. I still think Stella Mars is a mare that'll take a step forward second time out for Mike Maker. I thought she was a little wide last out, and I could see her moving forward in here and being a real threat. You had some horses that were moving up in class that we need to figure out really where they fit. It did look like there was enough speed in here, which was a good thing. So I kind of was focused on those two. Kathleen O'Connell's Saratoga Gaze is outposted a little bit, being out wide. I think she'll have to get some things to break her way in order to make an impact. I'll tell you the horse that I thought really wasn't totally without chance was going to be a big price is the 9 Bertriel, who for Bruce Brown, second off the layoff against Open Company last out, now first time Lasix, didn't have the cleanest of trips last time. Does need to run a lot better, but this horse is going to be a big price. So I would toss the 9 into the mix as well. But I mean, I do think pretty squarely the 2 horses I want to focus on are the 2 and 3.
2-3 here for you, and Stella Mars 9-2 for Maker, and who seems to be clicking along, and 3-1 for Mott with Smoky Eyes and Jose Lizcano. Back we go to Oceanport, and this is a classic starter allowance going 3/4.
Yeah, you get the distractor coming in off the win at Keeneland. Judge and Jury comes in off a win at Laurel, and each of them ran speed figures that would make them very tough to handle if they duplicate them here. So we'll see, kind of where they stand in terms of if those races were outliers or if they're just getting their way back into form. A lot of these hard-knocking older claimers, they'll work their way into form. They'll stay there for a bit, and then it'll take some time. Disco Ball on the inside is an interesting horse. I think this is a horse that Jacobson bought privately off of Samantha Siegel, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure this was a JMS horse. And he's got a lot of speed and an inside draw. I would assume that Isaac Castillo is going to put him right on the lead. I don't know, what else the approach would be, but felt like he was a horse that you wanted to make sure you included as one of the choices. Judge and Jury, the 3 is a horse that's in very good form at the moment, without question. I'd probably take more of a critical approach with the distractor. I know this horse is a Kelly Breen horse that's run well consistently, but I thought he really had it his own way last time during a period of time at Keeneland where being forwardly placed was a big edge. So I'd probably make taking a bit of a stand against him one of my focal points in this race.
And then we close it out with second level allowance going a mile and a 16th on the turf, the 9th at Mama.
For all the over-the-top fans, Lincoln Hawk goes as one of the chalks in here, I think, now in the care of David Jacobson. But Judge Davis, a horse that seems to take money every time, and was probably up against it last out, both with the condition of the turf and the trip that he had. He feels like a horse that's likely to really improve here. I thought the 6 that can be done was dangerous as well on the front end. And another one that I wanted to find a way to include, who's going to be a bit of a price is Tough Tickets, the 8, who's got some back turf races, I think, that put him squarely in the mix. And I think they'll go quickly enough on the front end to set up his late bid here too. So I was a little excited about him at a number.
All right, so let's run down the base play.
Yeah, I think it was 2-3.
Yep.
In the first leg, and
5-7 in the 5-7 in
Yep.
the cliffhanger.
Yep.
Then 2-3
And-
again.
2-3 again, right, with potentially a little 9 there at a price. And then fourth leg, mainly 1-3. And then we close it out with those 3 that'll really offer a little bit of value. So I think I really had 2, 4, 5, 8 in the last leg.
All right, so we can throw in. It's a fairly narrow 2x2
Yeah,
by, let's
fairly
say,
narrow.
3 by 2 by 4. So call it 12, 24, 48, 96, $48 for 50 cents. The end. And by the way, I wrote you last week. It was such a busy, we were busy with everything else. Did you give out that cross country? A listener wrote me and said that he did. I can't remember if he said he hit it because of you or that you gave it out. I didn't get an answer.
I think I gave out like the framework. I don't think I specifically gave out
Okay.
every winner. But yeah, I think if you mixed in a little of your own thoughts with some of mine, you could do it. But yeah, which is usually, that's kind of the best way for things.
Yeah,
So
that's why we do this.
exactly. Yep. It's the truth.
Right, 2 by 2 by 3 by 2 by 4, 2-3 with 5-7 with 2-3-9 with 1-3 with 2-4-5-8, and yesterday, in fact, or Wednesday, our man Lucky Larry in Kentucky, Larry, he hit the late pick 3 at Happy Valley. He took Dick's picks and he added a couple of horses in the second and third legs, and he hit for $340. So, and I just got a fabulous email here, and although I'm not sure who it's from because it only came in came in through the email as a text, but it hit yesterday at Indy for 6,000, the pick 4. And he said, thank you for the insights that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Notably, he singled that Otago, which was our idea, and as well. But for him to find the other two big prices, and he took Rachel's advice to hit the all button in the second line. There
you go.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
The ticket was 41.50. 40 was it 41.50?
40.50.
Yeah, 40.50. Yep.
Yeah.
To get back 6,000 plus. Nick, Brandon is going to join us later. Brandon Lee, of course, Jazzman Brandon at
Yes.
Lone Star. You go there frequently. I guess you're not going on Monday though this week.
I'm going to skip this week, and I'm going to go in late June when they've got a smaller contest. So just a busy time for me, but it's a little died down by the end of June. So looking forward to that.
Excellent. 8 seats being given away. We got to get Tamaro back to Vegas.
That's the plan.
The Chamber of Commerce is putting together an organization to make sure that you come back, because you're Tamaro in Vegas. It's almost like
I figured that as many times as I've gone to Bizarre Meats, I was going to get a call from Jose Andres himself to make sure that I qualified for the NHC.
Exactly right. Everybody loves Nick in Vegas. Although, I'll tell you what I did get to see on Saturday, and that was Philly Joe in Baltimore. That's the next best thing.
Philly Joe had never gone to the Preakness, and I think has gone with Marshall now 3 years in a row. So yeah, he's loving it. So nice, easy trip for him.
Well, you never, there's some people you see, here, there, everywhere. You never look over at Philly Joe when he doesn't have a smile. He's got this beaming smile 24/7.
One of the world's greatest people of all time. Yeah. No doubt about it. I told Pat Cummings a long time ago, as horrible a judge of character as he is, the one good thing he ever did was introduce him.
Oh, that's a good smile of the week. Very nice.
There it is.
Well, although you didn't hear Andy with me on Wednesday, did you?
I heard. So I was actually going to say, I saw somebody put on Twitter that he had you totally cracking up, and I don't know. I didn't ask him what he said. God only knows.
You have to go. You have to go listen to it, because you will be endlessly amused. When he laughs, then it's particularly funny, because he doesn't often laugh at his own rejoinders. And
he is somebody with a very sharp tongue. There is no question about it.
Yes, and it's all good natured. And I'll say, it's shtick, but it actually isn't. That's the best part. Exactly. People say, it's Andy's got shtick. It's shtick, but it's 100%
him all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've heard it in person or on the phone. There's a lot of it. It's very comical.
I will find you.
But I will definitely go listen.
Yeah, you will enjoy Nick Tamaro, who we always enjoy. NTAM 1215. The Sharpie time and stuff tonight. And
oh yeah.
All right.
5:30 start. Yep, we've got trials for the Sam Houston Futurity tonight and tomorrow, so very exciting.
Very exciting. And of course, NTAM 1215, along with the clubhouse lawyer himself, Trey Styles. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Have a good weekend. Good luck.
Are you coming Monday for the holiday Monday?
Sure.
Always. It's not holiday Monday. Yeah.
Can't miss it.
Exactly. Nick Tamaro, folks. All right, we're going to swing right around and go back to Baltimore. In this case, Anne Arundel County. And in fact, speaking of which, Callie's going to give us just a quick, I want to see what everybody had to say. But as we, she lives close by to actually on the Laurel side of the tracks. But last night I was going through email and whatever, and I'm on Stuart Pittman, who is, of course, the county executive in Anne Arundel, and long time associated with equine life in Maryland. And he writes a weekly, kind of a kind of a summary of everything going on, through the county executive's office. And he talked about Preakness, and he talked about, the stadium authority and the operating authority and the horsemen. And, Stuart Pittman, of course, responsible for the thoroughbred makeover. It was his concept, and has kind of changed the landscape in terms of second careers and retraining, and turning horses that some people wouldn't have thought were worth anything particularly into real valuable assets. And of course, one of the most valuable assets at the Maryland Jockey Club joins us now. Callie, good morning.
You just had to set it up that way, didn't you?
It's yes. I to tee you up appropriately.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I'm at Pimlico right now, and I have half of my office already packed up and ready to get back to Laurel. However, that's not going to be the case in in several years when we have the new stadium. But I'm kind of afraid of another raccoon intervention.
What? Tell me about the raccoon. Have I heard this story?
I don't think you have. Okay, so we got to go back actually 2 weeks prior to Preakness, and I'll do the story real quick. But prior to Preakness, I check in. I post right up in Baltimore immediately after that Laurel meet ends. So I pack up my Laurel office. I bring it to Pimlico. I open the door, and my office, the tiles from the ceiling are down. Things are all over the place. It is an absolute disaster. Now, what's interesting is that housekeeping services went through that office 2 days prior to me entering it. What it was the raccoons. The raccoons chewed through the top of my ceiling and had a little party in my office before I got there.
They were excited that you were coming back.
Apparently so. So, a nice little welcoming party by them. Got the ceiling replaced. Was in my office 2 Saturdays ago by myself. I was working by myself that day, and we were about the second to last race. And all of a sudden, I hear scratching on the top of my ceiling. So I found this big staff stick situation, and I just, go to hit the wall, try and scare them away. Oh no, they come back, they find a different spot. I had to hit the ceiling in 4 different spots before I stopped hearing anything. So the raccoons have taken over Pimlico, Steve.
Well, this falls short of Stan Salter and the squirrel at Laurel.
It does. And, I still have not seen that clip, and I need to get on it. I know it's on YouTube somewhere. I've been a bit preoccupied since we've last spoken about Stan.
Well, and as we've said, she's from Wisconsin, and so she's made of hardy stock. And
listen, I mean, my cousins took in a litter of raccoons at one point, but that only lasted for so long.
So you weren't going to be like that video from New York City, the bar where the woman from Alaska grabbed the possum by the scruff of the neck, and people.
Oh no!
Have you seen that? People.
Oh no!
Oh, people.
We're not doing that.
People were like screaming and running, and she just reaches down, grabs the sucker, walks out of the bar, holding it at arm's length. Yeah. The funny thing about possums is they look, they look like they're characters from Tim Burton movies, but they're actually sweet as can be. They hiss and they look mean, but they're really not.
I'm going to take your word on that, Steve.
Yeah, you're not going to be confronted. You were confronted by some terrific and interesting racing. We weathered the wet weather and so forth. Some impressions, Callie, and what what was the talk of Hayward Avenue this past week since Saturday?
Well, first of all, I have to congratulate everybody on the Maryland Jockey Club team, everybody on First Racing Team. They put up, with the events that transpired as far as weather goes for racing, First did everything that they could to still run a fabulous show. And they did, and it shows because we had a record handle on Black Eyed Susan Day. We surpassed our 28.2 million record for handle on Friday, if that gives you anything. And we did have a wonderful card on Friday. We stayed on the turf, everything. I absolutely love those races on Friday. Not that I didn't love them on Saturday, but Friday's card was absolutely stupendous.
I agree. I mean, we went into it kind of expecting or anticipating that Friday, and this is frequently the case. I mean, it's almost every Black-Eyed Susan Preakness weekend that Friday is just a scotch more interesting, and in some cases, productive. I know. I just said to Nick about the prices. I think it was about a 50-50 split on the stakes. I think it was like 8 favorites in what, 17 stakes. But even with the favorites, there were prices underneath. I'll give you an example. In that Hilltop, She Feels Pretty was 3 to 5.
Yes.
Just better to who I thought was the real price to key off of, almost 10 to 1. So you could get that in there. Shotgun Hottie Shotgun Hottie, I thought got bet heavier than I anticipated.
I wasn't exactly surprised. I wasn't. I mean, Cherie DeVoe, couldn't argue with her at all weekend, and I was a broken record on air. Those horses looked absolutely phenomenal all week long. They've got here, I believe, Sherry shipped them over, I believe, Sunday.
No, we talked on Monday, and so excited for her. How about, I'll tell you the horse that I didn't necessarily think she couldn't win, but Mystic Lake, and there hasn't hasn't been.
That was wild. That was wild because, and I mean, the track was playing. Here's the thing, Stephen, we had some rain prior up during the week. It was a little drizzly Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Not really Thursday, but still everything was kind of the track was still kind of playing pretty tight. And it was, I mean, look at what happened in the Preakness. So it's no surprise that if you just got to the lead and went away with it, I do think the track did help her, but at the same time, nice price, $13.60.
Yeah. I mean, for me, she was like a B-. I was trying to get, the turnbacks. Part of that actually is Flavien Prat, who just elevates everything. It's just unbelievable, whether it's turf or dirt. Speaking of turf and sprinting, I really missed the memo on Trombetta. I told him that. He called me Saturday morning, and I told him, "You killed me with that. Future Is Now," and she got bet.
Oh no!
She got bet like they had run the race.
Right. Yes. I think everybody was. Who was everybody? I was on Passerati in that race. I was just determined that she was going to show up first time out for Brittany Russell, but it proved to be too much for her. But what that filly had, that troubled trip because I had this filly in my Exacta, that troubled trip that she had in that effort last time out against the boys. With Paco Lopez back on, it really sealed the deal with this filly, and man, did she look the part.
I was in love with All That Magic, who got bet and then was a bad actress in the gate, and she absolutely killed her own chances. Got
it.
Watch for her next time. Kate DeMasi will reorganize, and the gates opened, and my heart just sunk. I was like, I'm dead here.
Fair enough. That's tough. That's tough.
Kingsbarns ran his race only to be run down by Cherie, and that Pyrenees is absolutely a streaking customer right now. 4-year-old that is shouldering his way, an Into Mischief colt, shouldering his way into the handicap upper echelon.
Yeah, super crazy Friday. Crazy Friday. That was good racing Friday.
And then Gunsong, of course, who...
Gunsong was the pony, bless Gunsong, because the pony had an absolute episode when that pony went to go link up with Gunsong. And Gunsong was more professional than the pony.
That's funny.
Oh, the drama that filly had to deal with before she ran. I'm more impressed with that than anything.
How about that?
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing I was also impressed with that I missed to close out the day. Get Lucky with Chucky. Here's Chuck Lawrence with Wow, What a Summer. I wanted to. I was nauseous because I I love Chuck, and I happen to know this gelding. They've actually cashed on him, but it had been a long time between drinks, and unbelievable. Pays $24.40 to close out the day.
That was great. My team member Mackenzie actually had that horse underneath.
Very nice.
Very nice. Yes, that was a good play. Oopsies.
Then Saturday, I will say one thing. I talked with Nick about the prices. I had one horse both days on the undercard that kept me above water for the weekend. On Saturday, it was that Desvio that was a ridiculous. That was
Desvio for Madison Myers.
That was
yes,
crazy. Happy for Maddie Myers to win on a big day.
Yes,
and I'll tell you the other one that I saw some people.
Wait a sec. Pause for a sec. Speaking of Madison Myers, she just had her first consignment at the 2-year-old sale. This past in Timonium, just this past couple of days. Sent out 4, sold 4.
Good for her.
All connections involved. We're very happy with how things played out. So what a great weekend for
Oh, that's really
a trainer
nice.
who doesn't get a ton of opportunities and is really capitalizing off of that. So just a heads up, guys, you got that team has some great horsemen amongst their squad, essentially.
No, she does a good job, and
yes.
Was she that who was it wasn't her that wrote that worked for Shug, right? At who did you?
I'll ask her and I'll get back to you because I know her more as a friend, rather than a ton of her background. But
she's been on. I've had her on.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll update. I'll update you. I'll get back to you on that.
Thank you. And then on Saturday, stay with Friday for a second. I saw some people grousing because it seems to upset people that Brittany Russell wins. That F35.
That's their problem.
Exactly. F35 was, to me, was a really fun horse to key off of, and it very weird pedigree play with that one. There hadn't been a lot of turf success, but there had been synthetic success, and in the siblings, and that's what I keyed off of. And then there was just the fact that the horse, the horse had, it was kind of close enough for horseshoes from a prior race. I'm just looking back at. I've been trying to sell you on using some Thorograph.
I know I need to get more educated on it.
Well,
I know. Listen, I understand. It's phenomenal. So I fully
the race,
just how the horse is gearing up. I'm a big momentum girl, and that's a momentum kind of not predicting because that's a strong label, but product in that sense.
Well, and this was a scenario where that second race, the maiden try at Parks, that race from a figure standpoint stood out and absolutely. And if he was able to translate it to turf, that made him a contender, and 10-1 was the right price, and you ended up getting 13-1. So
yes, that was $28.
Yeah,
almost $29.
Those two, Desvio and F35, sort of got me through had a couple other pops here and there, but those two really, and they came early in the day. That's one of the worst things. You get that confidence builder early in the day, and then and then slowly it chips away at the at the bulge that the bankroll gave you. Anyway, Saturday, some other thoughts before we go?
Ooh, man, it was so fun. It was fun to see Fluffy Socks come back. 5 Towns I thought was going to pop off a little bit better, but it was fun to see Fluffy Socks get back. Fulminio and the James Murphy for Arno Delacour was fun. Skipping up to Georgie Duarte, getting one off the layoff in the Jim McKay.
Yep.
But the dinner party was fun. For Phil D'Amato, that was a fun winner's circle to kind of be. I had some beer underneath too, who I had underneath.
Nice job.
Paid $12 underneath Strictly. I knew that horse was going to pop off, but wanted to highlight too that coming into the closing day of the Preakness meet, we're going to have a force out on Monday, next Monday on Memorial Day, for all these potential carryover amounts for the Jackpot Super High 5, the Late Pick 5, and the Rainbow Pick 6. So the Jackpot Super High 5 is 258,786, and the Rainbow Pick 6 is 300, just a touch over 315 grand.
I noted that. I saw that, and this will potentially.
I just put out a $38 ticket to my trailer. So
nice. Well, and today, as they get back to racing, start at 12:25. 8-race card into the weekend, and then Saturday, we got a 10-race card. So you got one for today, maybe.
My value for today is going to be in the last race. It's a 10-1 on the morning line. I just sent that email. Let me go back. It's a Mark Salvaggio.
Yep, Park Place.
One off the turf. I mean, Farrier's horse, definitely, like, if you can exacta box, that's a good exacta box play. But the Mark Salvaggio one, refer back to that Colonial. Mark's got this horse in a good place. He's 1 for 8 as of lately, but 3 for 8 in the money when he comes down to Maryland. But I think that horse could be one to watch.
Very good. The 6, Park Place, 10-1, and the 8, the 9-5 favorite, Switzer, from Anthony Farrier with Sheldon. So 6-8 or 8-6. Callie, great work on the Big Preakness weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Good luck this weekend, guys.
Callie Francois, Miss Francois, to you. Turn around. Let me get Marcus Hirsch, and Marcus kind of took a little bit off after Derby, so we're going to get him back in here. Also coming up, Brian Skirka is going to join us, and KK, Kevin Kirstein, Scully later as well. But DRF Hirsch to advance the morning conversation and get some game plans in. Marcus, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Steve. You're right on top of it.
Thank you. Well,
Often I pick up and I've got to wait 45 minutes before I get a chance to
well, I had to wait. You made me wait a week.
Oh boy. It was Preakness week last week. I didn't have anything to add.
I don't know. How did you approach the race? What were your expectations going in?
Probably I should just say congratulations to everyone and move on.
Very good.
I mean, I seriously okay. I mean, I'm really not trying to be too harsh, but I think that the quality of the overall festival has just slid so dramatically since I first had anything to do with it. It's kind of disappointing. I didn't see a lot of appeal on either day, really.
Interesting. Because I don't know. I cashed some tickets and
oh, sure, you could still have fun, but yeah, you know. Anyway, on to the Belmont.
On to Belmont at Saratoga. And Marcus,
I'll say this: wouldn't Muff have aired?
That's an interesting. You know what? You know what's interesting, Marcus? You're the first person to bring that up in this week, and
I think you would have just gone to the lead and
wired. I hadn't thought about that.
Easily.
I had not thought about that for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Anyway, I think there should be some great racing in New York. I mean, not to crap on Maryland, but the stuff that I've been like, the horses I keep seeing come up for all these races, it's going to be great.
It does. It is shaping up, and you know, starting with the Belmont, and of course that's only the feature. I mean, between the Met and the Manhattan and the Phipps and on and on, the Poker, the Jaipur.
I think Idiomatic worked today for the Phipps, I believe.
Excellent. No, it's a fever pitch around here, Marcus. Some people
Really?
it really is. I mean, people are so excited. It's kind of funny. I mean, as much great racing as we get, all summer long. And I hadn't thought about this until now. I do wonder if this will make the summer anticlimactic.
No, people are gonna be even hungrier. They've gotten a taste of this amazing experience, and they're gonna want more.
That's a good point. I do wonder if there's some people that might be coming to Saratoga for the first time.
Could be. I mean, I booked travel not that long ago, and believe me, it was difficult to find a way to get home.
And
I'm like, I asked people about it. Like, well, I mean, it's the Belmont, and I guess it is, because I was looking at airports all in the region. I was willing to drive to save the company a few bucks. Company, are you listening?
I will let Erwin and Jody know.
They know.
Of course they do. You know what you should have considered.
I considered everything, but I want to hear this one.
You should have jumped up on the Grand Central Limited and taken the train.
Oh, I looked into it, believe me. But flying to getting to New York City was not good either. Coming back from there was terrible as well.
Well, I mean, you could just come straight across to Albany from Chicago.
Oh, I mean, I would have to leave today.
It's not. You wouldn't. It's an overnight train. It's not a stagecoach.
You can get back to me when we have a functional train system in this country.
I used to take the train occasionally.
I love the train. Yeah. I would take the train. I would absolutely take the train all the time if it were more practical.
I hear you. I took the train. We took the train from here to Detroit once, and
nice.
Several times to Chicago, and a lot of times. To
me, the train's like a vacation unto itself.
It is. It is. You get
so relaxing.
It's fabulous. The roulette. You get a roulette?
Yeah. I bet. I think the last time I had one of those, my daughter was like 2 or something, which is now 102. So it's a long time ago.
What's your? You've been on with me a lot of years. What's your daughter's name? I didn't know there was a daughter.
Her name is Ursula Ruth Einen Scherson Hirsch.
Oh my God! And of course, that's in part thanks to your wife and her heritage.
Mm-hmm. Ursula is her name. She's absolutely spectacular. I'm not biased either.
You know what Ursula means?
What it means?
Yeah.
I would hope so.
It means little bear.
Yeah, I would hope so. Oh, yeah, I should have looked that up sometime. What my daughter's name means. I knew there was something that was bugging me for the last 20 years. I meant to do. But yes, I'm impressed at your knowledge. What about Ursula K. Le Guin? Are you familiar with her? Or as they say at the racetrack, calling the horse's name Ouvre.
I don't think I am.
Oh, you should check it out. Fabulous writer.
Excellent. You and Andy.
Ursula K. Le Guin.
Le Guin? Leguine?
No E at the end.
Just ends with the N. All right, Ursula Le Guin.
Mm-hmm.
This is why people tune in. You'd be surprised.
Are we done now?
You said 15 minutes, so. How about some game plan? It's a holiday.
Game plan.
It's a holiday weekend, and there's
but I only get Saturday, right?
Well, if there's something you've noticed elsewhere, it's so far, and they haven't drawn New York and California, but the Churchill card on Monday is terrific.
Oh, really? I just skimmed the stake. I mean, I went through it real quick.
Oh, the allowance, and there's a couple of maidens, and there's a little of everything. Very good.
It shocks me that every race doesn't have a full field. I'm looking at yesterday's charts, and my man Grant Forster won a race, a 50,000 restricted claimer, and his horse first place check for that little race was almost $50,000.
Yeah. He's got 5-star general in Monday.
Oh, he does.
He does.
He's having a pretty good year.
He's got potato skins named after him at Katie's in Mid City.
I mean, I would hope so.
Grant's famous potato skins at
I would hope
Katie's.
so.
I love that.
I just never got down with the potato skins, I gotta say. I mean, I prefer the fleshy interior.
You ever Kansas City at all? You
Missouri or Kansas?
Well, they're ostensibly, they're like conjoined twins. Although
When anyone asks that,
That's
the answer is they've never spent any appreciable time there. The longest time I spent in Kansas City was my wife and I were traveling with her little brother, who was probably like 15 at the time, on a big road trip all around the Southwest, and we were headed back to the Midwest and stopped at a bar at Kansas City in the middle of the day, and her brother waited in the car, and we were like, we'll just be a few minutes. And we wound up having a protracted conversation with a Vietnam veteran named Gator. And that's my greatest Kansas City experience as far as the amount of time spent.
Well, that happens to be a fabulous story. In fact, somebody could turn that into definitely at least an episode of some 30-minute show. I could see that in a minute. I was going to tell you, I mean, if you do like the fluffy interior of a baked potato, the Jess and Jim's in Martin City, which is the southern suburbs of Kansas City.
Okay.
135th Street, south.
Let me get a pen.
All right, 100 south, basically, of Overland Park. Jess and Jim's, they do something with a baked potato I had never seen anywhere. They throw them whole, big Idaho, bakers, the big ones, and they throw them in the fryer and fry them for a certain period of time. And then when they pull them out of the fryer, they then wrap them in foil, and then they put them in their holding oven, the old-fashioned baked potato oven, until they're served. When your server brings you that baked potato to go with your steak, and they age their own steaks in the basement at Jess and Jim's, when they cut into that potato, Marcus, the white, it's literally like popcorn. The white fluffy part pops. It like boop, it comes like out of that and the shell. It's unbelievable.
Pressurized.
Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Wow, I've never heard of this. Sounds amazing and healthful too.
Well, no, when you said they do something with a potato you've never seen before, I thought things were going to get obscene. No. No. Jess and Jim's.
Great plug. I mean, you're making me hungry.
Fabulous place. I got very friendly with the longtime owner, R.C. Van Noy, and
wow.
Yeah.
I hope you're getting a commission on that.
No, I haven't been in years. I haven't been in years, but I know it's still there. And
awesome.
Great.
That's a great rec for anyone. I'm afraid that the Woodlands is.
The Woodlands. Jeez, I met somebody from Kansas City. Where were we? We were at Preakness, and who? Now wait a minute. That wasn't Alexa. Alexa's from St. Louis. Alexa Zepp. She's from St. Louis, but yeah. Well, this Marcus, thanks for coming. I'm great for the.
Probably better information than I'd give anyone about horses.
Let's turn our attention to Pennine Ridge, Crystal Water, and the Mr. Steel.
The Pennine Ridge. What do you think?
You know what? We just discussed it with Nick. Where did I put it?
Well, I mean, I don't have anything to add. Then.
No. Legend of Time, snapback, and would redeem himself.
No.
Not necessarily.
Why? Why would he?
That was the scenario that Nick laid out.
I mean, I didn't like him at Churchill, so I didn't really believe in that Jumeirah Classic. I don't know. He's okay. Did he have any excuse for that?
I don't know. I
don't think it was much of a race. I don't think he's much of a horse. He could prove me wrong, but I was glad to see. I just saw the morning line for the first time, and he's a favorite. That's why I jumped onto the race because I really like risk tolerance in this race.
He does have. That was Nick's other horse. He does have.
I mean, there are only like 5 of them.
Well, there's 7, but it's
Okay.
and there's a couple of others that are okay.
Well,
these are fairly lightly raced 3-year-olds. Still,
I was hoping Triple Espresso would take a little money too, which he might, because I don't like him at all. I liked him after his first race, and he's done nothing but not show me that he's advanced much, or is that much. There's that much to him, but we shall see. And Royal Majesty, I gave a look. It was not much of a race at Keeneland, which is why he was favored. He ran well though. These first fractions in Keeneland turf routes, I would pay little attention to them for the most part. The run up must be absurd or something because they're always way too fast. And so he got some kind of setup, but not probably as good as you might think off at 22-4. White Palomino was he was way better at Keeneland than at Gulfstream. Not just the surface of the form, just the way he went about his business. He was pretty green at Gulfstream, but risk tolerance. I'm afraid he's going to get bet lower than 3-1, but I don't know. And he's obviously not any sort of hidden talent. He won a debut for Brown and Klarovich. But I wanted to write about the race to continue to complain about the lack of proper gallop out coverage because no one ever pays any attention to that. I still don't know why all tracks can't show a kind of uniform wide pan gallop out for 12 seconds afterward. Because as I said in my little game plan story, sometimes it's totally worthless and obviously it's just one little thing, but you can't glean information that's extremely useful, which I thought was the case with this horse, who I'm pretty sure that Franco flagged him a couple times going out into the turn, and he galloped out really strongly. And that, to me, he didn't just say, he can go this far, but maybe they had this race in mind all along, even before his debut. I think he was more superior than the bare margin of victory, and I really liked the way he went about his business. And the one workout I saw, there was video from somewhere. Saratoga, I think. He went pretty good. Doesn't run like a dirt horse, but I think he's got, I don't know, obviously no idea what his ceiling is, but I think he's got all kinds of upside. I think he's the horse for this race.
I like it. All right. How about to California? We've got 5 Calbred stakes. Crystal Water, and you gave a nod to the amazing Chosen Vron, who runs in the Thor's Echo and
correct
is a slam dunk.
Seemingly. I made the comparison between him and the favorite in the Crystal Water Knight, Kings River Knight, who he could be even lower than even money. I was surprised to see the line on this one, and also, I know Brad Freed gave him a big shout in his preview of this race. I thought he'd be a little more obscure than that. One race since last May, and it was, granted, it was an open race, but it was just a one other than. You got the likes of Carmelita's Man and Clouseau and some. So I guess this horse is going to be a strong second choice. I don't like him nearly as much under those circumstances. My thing with Kings River Knight is, and I'm looking at the DRF piece, so I'm seeing buyers. He got 100 buyer last time, and he's got all the wins in a row. So I think he's a very fine Calbred, and he is he's extremely handy and useful in the way he goes about his business, and versatile too. Dirt sprints, dirt routes, turf sprints, turf routes, but I don't think he's nearly as invulnerable as he's going to be bet. I just need someone to put a little bit of pressure on him because this old pal horse. I think Kings River Knight, the fact that he's done so well on dirt is very indicative of the kind of horse he is. He's kind of a more steady galloping sort of turf horse. This other horse, Old Pal, really, he's got a great turn of foot at the end. He's finished very fast in both of his last 2 starts, exceedingly fast last time. And that's one of those races where, he wins by a half length, but he's kind of stuck out at the back most of the race. and he couldn't finish much faster than he did. I think he's the real talent in the race. He's 4, obviously completely unexposed. Like his buyers, I don't think, tell the real tale of that horse at all. I expect him to take a big step forward, but if the other horse gets loose and walks along out there, then there may be no catching him. And like I said, I was hoping for something in like the 5 to 6 to 1 range.
Nice. All right. That swings us to your third game plan. Although I do want to ask
Mr. Steele.
Mr. Steele.
I hadn't seen this line either. I'll see another bad price. Win for the money is 3 to 1. I'd be hoping for more than that, but maybe not. I mean, main event, I think obviously will be the favorite here, but I don't know. I thought me and Mr. C might be shorter than his morning line odds of 9 to 2, but could be wrong about that. I liked Win for the money quite a bit because, you know, he's a 5-year-old, but he's only run a handful of races on turf, 3, and one of them was the Arlington Million. I know he's not a mile and a quarter horse, and he's not a grade 1 horse, and he actually ran just fine there. He's very tractable. He can be up close, sit a little ways back, and he's run well fresh before. I thought he was in a way better spot to win than main event, who's been going steady for a long time, barn change, been out to long distance races, back to middle distance, this, that, and the other thing. So Win for the money, stalks and pounces and gets home, I think, in the Mr. Steele.
I agree. And the Mr. Steele goes as the 9th at Gulfstream, 501 post, and it is in the coast to coast pick 5, which it utilizes. It's all grass, by the way. It's an all grass coast to coast this week. I'm sure we'll talk about it with Hammer, but it's the only race from Gulfstream. Then they take 4 stakes from Santa Anita. So kind
the
of
Santa Anita stakes are, I mean, other than the Chosen Ron race, I thought those were pretty interesting. I think there are a lot of options. I considered a couple other races on that card too, so I'm glad they're using it that way.
Well, and wait till you see Sunday's Santa Anita card is terrific.
All right, I look forward to it.
And I saw that you did do the advance for Monmouth, and what the cliffhanger.
Monmouth.
Yeah,
I'm the Monmouth guy. Of course, I did the advance.
I didn't realize.
Mr. Monmouth.
What'd you do with Kenny Peck?
What do you mean? He's the analyst. I'm the correspondent.
That's true.
Kenny's I'm sure doing great work there. Well, I've already moved on to later days. That's the cliffhanger.
It is the cliffhanger.
You got the 2 Jersey breds and the 2 horses from Fair Hill who ran 1-3 in the Henry Clark. I don't see anything that interesting about this race.
All right.
Those are going to be the 2 favorites, and I like Data Man better than the super horse. There's so many supers. What is he? Forever Super? Yeah, Forever Super.
Forever Super.
He did get blocked at the top of the stretch. There's no doubt about it. But I thought Data Man was going to win anyway, even though he didn't change leads. And Data Man, you know, that first start back as a 4-year-old, he kind of was half there sometimes. I mean, I thought there was a nice move. I thought it was a good sign that he came out in his 4-year-old season after a break and ran that kind of probably the best race he's ever run. Very professional, except for not changing leads. I think he's got a lot more room to improve than the more exposed Forever Super.
All right. I Data Man came up yesterday with Jeff Franklin, and I got a goofy idea in there, and it was only reinforced by the pricing, which was Jacobson with that Laughing Boy, who's going to be loose on the lead.
I thought he'd scratch if it didn't come off.
We'll see. Jacobson's funny that way. There's Chuck, there are no words too. Chuck Spina won last week, right? Chuck won the state.
He's had a great start to the meet. That I don't see him getting loose with that. I don't see Laughing Boy getting loose with There Are No Words coming back fresh.
All right. All right.
There are no words. It's pretty good.
Yeah, he is. He is. And in
If
fact,
Laughing Boy comes out, then he's loose on the lead.
There
And
you
I know
go.
he didn't run well in his first time back last year, but he got hooked in a 45 and change half off his long break. I don't think that's necessarily representative of what he can do first time back.
interesting. All right. Let's see. We made this even more intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that high on Data Man. I think he's the most likely winner, but it's the thing is, I don't have anything to latch onto on the other horses necessarily, so I couldn't come up with anything especially clever. The Sunday Stake, which is the female version of this, is to me much more engaging.
Are you going to offer a specific opinion?
Nope, because I've just started to dive deeply into it.
All right. Well, Marcus, you gave me an extra 10 minutes, so thank you.
Well, I mean, to learn about the fried baked potato, I would have given you another 10 minutes. and
for me to learn about Ursula Le Guin.
Well, we'll see about that. Give me a report once you get around to it.
Written or oral?
I'm gonna go with written, I think.
Marcus Hirsch, everybody. TRF Hirsch. This is why we miss Marcus when we don't get to engage.
It was fun.
Always.
Good luck, everybody, this weekend. Take care.
Thanks, Marcus. Marcus Hirsch, folks, who is a lot of fun. We're going to take our only break of the morning. We got a ton to do here in the second half. Let me cross off. What do we got? We had Nick. We had Marcus. We had Callie. So we got Kevin Kirstein, Brian Skirka, Scully when we come back, because I got to get to him before 11, Hammer, and Brandon. Jasmine and Brandon. So we got 5 visits in 90 minutes. Let's take the break. Brian, who's working the board today and here close by in Albany, and we'll be back. Second half. Twin Spires weekend preview. James Scully when we return.
At the Races with Steve Vick on Sirius XM Radio.
The state of Pennsylvania has the best breeders program in the entire United States.
When you buy a yearling, it's a little bit like buying a lottery ticket. And we are trying to provide a lottery ticket that the likelihood is to hit the jackpot.
Angel of Empire wins the Arkansas Derby and wins it clear.
Uncle Heavy late, it's a photo finish.
Pennsylvania and the PHBA have the best state-bred program in the country, bar none.
The winner, Uncle Heavy. He's a 3-year-old bred in Pennsylvania.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions and offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets. $200 deposit match with promo Steve200. Visit NairaBets.com for details.
The Ponds family's Country Life and Maryland Farms are the place for breeding and racing in the Mid-Atlantic. Country Life is nationally recognized for making stallions and curly stands, the Mid-Atlantic's leading first and second crop sires, Divining Rod by Tappan and Mosler by Warfront, as well as Frisian Fire. Maryland's 5/8 mile training track completes the full-service facilities from the folding barn to the racetrack. Join the excitement of racing with Country Life Farm, where our partnerships can take you from beginning to winning.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Visit ua-rtip.org today.
Why, in the past decade, has BRL Equine become the premier equine supplement company in the industry? Because we spend millions in research and development before we ever put out a product. Because we use only FDA-supervised facilities to manufacture for us. Because what we say is in them is in them. Because they work. Because if you're not happy, I'll give you your money back. And because top trainers and veterinarians in thoroughbred racing, standardbred racing, 3-day eventing, and barrel racing All trust in BRL Equine. Shouldn't you? To find out more how Flexify HA, Unlock, Leader Shield, and EPO Equine can help you, contact me, Joseph Vellante, 215-501-6880.
Horsebills.com is a cost-effective, time-saving paperless revolution. Vendors are able to generate electronic invoices for owners and other vendors who can pay through Horsebills.com for just 50 cents. Turn hours of work into minutes with our easy-to-use site. Have our team take over your bookkeeping or continue to do it yourself and pay only our low monthly subscription fee. Check out our video tutorial on the Horsebills.com YouTube channel and get started today for free. Horsebills.com. Toll-free number 888-938-4643.
This is At the Races with Steve Beck.
We're back. Second half on this Twin Spires weekend preview. And speaking of Twin Spires, how about Brisnet's James Scully? We'll see what Scully's got for us, which, could be highly productive. They're back racing. And the Churchill's card, the card that the Kirtan is good tomorrow. It's the Monday card, and we'll discuss it Monday probably, in terms of handicapping, because we've had all this other action to wade through before Monday. James, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Tough act to follow with Marcus on there. Very entertaining. I'll tell you, I don't know if you could get Marcus to reluctantly agree to it, but if you're going on a vacation or something, you guys could get together and just talk about travel, restaurants, cooking, obscure authors, just a endless hodgepodge of topics. Very entertaining.
They used to call that on Jeopardy. Potpourri. That used to be that used to be the category. Remember that? Did they still?
I do.
Do they still do that? Do they still offer potpourri?
I have not seen the potpourri in a long time.
Right, that was a classic.
Yeah.
But I harken back to the Art Fleming days. I don't. I know that Alex Trebek was elevated to sainthood, but as the Jeopardy quizmaster. But I've got tremendous respect for the quiz mastering. At Colgate one year, I don't even know how I inherited this, even though I was broadcast on WRCU. But the GE College Bowl, we were supposed to generate a team for the GE College Bowl, and so various groups got together, and there was like this play down. And next thing I knew, somehow I'm asking the questions, and it was a lot of fun. It
Sounds like, is that where you found your calling? Was that the?
I was already doing Colgate hockey play-by-play, and I don't even know how it happened. But all I knew was they were like, Steve, do you want to ask the questions? And I think it was because it sort of fell to me one day, and I moved it along at a much faster pace and got a lot more questions in and stuff. And so next thing I knew, I was the quiz master for the GE College Bowl play down.
Now, did you give any thought to pursuing a career path, like traveling to Hollywood and trying to intern for
I got to tell you,
who was it? Eubanks or
Bob Eubanks?
Bob Eubanks,
or Wink Martindale.
Wink Martindale, yeah.
Wink Martindale, Gary Moore, and Bill Cullen. If I had to pick a game show host, and whenever you say the words game show host, I always think of Sigourney Weaver in Ghostbusters when she says to Bill Murray, "You're more like a game show host." That's what I think of.
Than a doctor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or scientist. My favorite game show host probably was. Well, Gary Moore was very good. Alan Ludden had that. The password. Presiding over password. That was great. My favorite game. Who? I'll tell you who was tremendous. Hugh Downs, who going back to Concentration, he was a fabulous game show host. This is tough. There's a deep bench when it comes to game show hosting.
Yeah, who knew? Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. It could be a blog post one day on the website.
Well, you know what? When it comes to I can tell already people are angered that I've somehow smeared Alex Trebek. I wasn't smearing Alex Trebek. Here's my problem. Here's the problem I always had with Alex Trebek. Before he landed Jeopardy, he did that vapid game High Rollers. Does anybody remember High Rollers? With the fuzzy dice? With fuzzy dice. Okay,
well, maybe I remember seeing that. Yes, I do remember the dice.
So my first impression of Alex Trebek was as this, kind of silly, mirthful, game show host. I couldn't take him as seriously as Art Fleming. Art Fleming had gravitas. I didn't. It always, when Alex Trebek when somebody got the answer wrong and he would give the right answer, he was always so trite, like he actually knew the answer. Art Fleming, I believed when Art Fleming said, the Peloponnesian War, you believed that he knew that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't actually remember seeing him. So that's a little before my time but
you're younger. How old are you?
I'm 56.
All right. So you're 8 years younger than me. That, that would have definitely exempted you from seeing High Rollers. That's just young enough to have missed High Rollers so that you could have this, vaunted view of Alex Trebek. Somehow you've managed to turn this into a game show host style conversation. I feel like Gene Rayburn.
The audience has been listening to this conversation for a while now after Marcus' appearance.
Honestly, if it wasn't for exchanges like this, I don't know if I could do 15 hours a week. That's what makes this. That's what makes this so enjoyable. You know what else is enjoyable? The offers on Twin Spires.
Oh yeah, we got a lot going on this weekend. We have got we're going to have a Sunday Pick 5 insurance at Belmont at Aqueduct. We've got a Memorial Day odds boost. We have got at the Memorial Day odds boost at Churchill, Belmont at Aqueduct, and Santa Anita. We have a Power Hour profit boost today from 4 to 5. All tracks, all wagers get a 15% boost, and we'll have win bonuses for 15% win bonuses for multiple tracks. So check out the offers page at twinspires.com and opt in. We got a lot of terrific promos going on this holiday weekend.
Tremendous weekend of racing. And let's dive in, James Scully. Where are we going?
All right, well, I'll start at Churchill and just mention some races. Gone over that card. I've looked at the Monday stake. That's going to be a good race, the winning colors, and a good card, like you said. But I'll start with race number 6. This race, I think, has a vulnerable favorite in number 6, Genetics, where she just has trouble getting out of the gate and is pegged at 5 to 2, and really hasn't run that fast as well in previous starts. I'm intrigued by Pride's Crossing. This is a Paulo Lobo, a quality road colt. I mean, I look at his her breeding. Her second maternal dam was a juvenile grade 1 winner. This is immediate female family of Just a Warrior, who won her debut by 5 lengths in the Ellis Park Debutante like 2 years ago. And lots of fast works at the Thoroughbred Training Center. He hasn't been training at Churchill. We'll see if he takes a lot of early money. The other horse I would use in there is number 8, Conquest Dancer. Obviously ran first time at Keeneland and missed the start, a frosted filly for Wayne Catalano. The winner of that race, Plum Tricky, she's back in an entry-level allowance later on the card. And So I'm going to try to beat the favorite in there. I'm going to play the 7 and 8.
Very good. So sixth race, 7 and 8, Pride's Crossing and Conquest Dancer, 9-2 and 6-1 respectively for this filly and mare 7 furlong maiden special.
And then race number 8 is a $30,000 starter allowance. Pretty tough, pretty solid field of 10 entered in there at 7 furlongs. I like number 5, Mucho Mojo, who's 6-1 on the morning line. Will be the first start off the claim for Brendan Walsh. And this Mucho Mojo ran well last November at Churchill Downs when finishing second in a 1 mile starter allowance. Went to Keeneland, ran respectably in some tough allowance races. Ran ahead second to Segoy, who came back and won the, grade 3 Louisville on turf last weekend. But returned to Churchill Downs last time on Derby week on the Thursday, the Derby program. That was a long 12 race program, Steve. And let me just say, I thought at the end of the day on that Thursday card, the track profile changed. Races 8 and 11 were on the turf. Race 9 was the Kentucky Juvenile. The speed gave way in that race. Late runners closed. The next race, Obesos closed last the first, upset the St. Matthews. And then I thought Mucho Mojo ran a really good race on the front end that day. He went after my Romeo Lima, who was favored, put him away, and just got run down by these closers, I thought, on the best part of the track. I think he'll move forward off that race. I like him in race number 8, Mucho Mojo.
Mucho Mojo here with Christian Torres for Brendan Walsh, 6-1, the 5.
And then I thought that in race number 9, this is a race where Greg Foley has 2 of horses in there. One of them says Navy Bell coming in from California, and she'll take some money. But I like Harbor Springs in there. I just didn't like, she got off to a slow start last time in on that Oaks card allowance race and got way behind early. And that really just cost her. I'm looking for a better trip, a better start. And, she's not going to be on the front end, but she can definitely sit closer. And, this race I think is going to have some pace in it, and I'm going to look for her to move forward off that race last time, and because I liked her maiden win, and that was a decent second. I mean, obviously Denim and Pearls dominated that Beaumont, but I think she's a candidate to move forward off of that race in the slop, and I like Harbor Springs in race 9.
Yeah, I thought she was definitely one of the ones. I didn't think Plum Tricky was impossible either.
No, and I'm playing a horse out of that race. That out of the race that she won. So, or I like that Conquest Dancer a little bit out of that race. So, the 10th race is the Kirtana, and it's like the top 4 from the Bewitch are the main contenders. I mean, I would give Vergara a chance to run better second race back off the shelf, but obviously Chop looked really good last time, and she'll take some beating in there. And then I thought race number 11 was a really good maiden special weight race. You're going to have some first time starters in there. I'm going to go with the outside one, Come As You Are, for Bill Mott, the City of Light filly. It just, hasn't missed a beat in training and is bred to run early. And I like the way she's going. But obviously, Queen of Paris, number 6. And even this Wayne Catalano, number 1, she's a little stinker in there with a chance.
All right. So the 9, Come As You Are, 8-1 with Gaffleone, first Lasix, first timer. Older 3 and ups going 7/8.
And then I will mention the Pennine Ridge. I definitely respect risk tolerance off that maiden win. I thought White Palomino, looked terrific as well. When he broke his maiden second time out. But I really came away impressed by Royal Majesty. The way that I just like his progression. He ran one time in England last fall. Shipped to, came to America, broke his maiden, first start for Belmont, hard fought win, ran in a stakes race and, got an inside trip and just sort of ran evenly to be fit, but really improved upon that race, second time versus winners. And, I mean, that wasn't a bad allowance field. That Moonlight could be good on turf for Todd Pletcher moving forward, and that Massif, is okay for Brittany Russell. So I thought that was a solid field. And I just thought I loved his turn of foot in there, and I'm going to give him the edge for Bill Mott, this Frankel Colt, Royal Majesty.
All right. This feels like this is getting wider. A wider net with every passing conversation. All right, the 5 to 1.
And I'll just mention, waiting for the entries to come in this afternoon, but they're going to run that Shoemaker Mile on Monday at Santa Anita. And I am real, you're going to get exalted. He's coming back in that spot. We're going to make a title defense. Love Santa Anita. And Dejere's obviously in really good form off of the Frank Kilroy mile win. There's some others in there as well. Conclude who's coming back. But I like that. I love that Johannes' victory comeback win.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a colt that ran like 3 or 4 times on dirt. They switched him to turf. He broke his maiden, won a couple of races, shipped him in last year. He went on 5 to 1 in that American turf and just had a rough trip in traffic to finish 5th and exited the race and was off until April 4th. And I mean, that race, that turn of foot he had in the stretch, granted he had a fast pace that day, but I loved how he came back in there. I think he has a big time future for Tim Yakteen, and I'm going to be playing Johannes in the Shoemaker Mile on Monday, Steve.
Very good. Looking forward to that card coming out later today. We'll talk to Hammer at the top of the hour about a big weekend, a terrific weekend, it looks like, at Santa Anita. All right.
And then I got a last second play at Aqueduct today. Number 3, leadership ability in race 5. This is an 8 to 1 shot, a filly for Charlton Baker, who's going to get out there in this weak field with very little pace and run a big race on the front end with Romero Marat. Hope to get a decent price. Like I said, 8 to 1 on the morning line. Number 3, leadership ability in race 5 at Aqueduct today.
Should get a price. I mean, it is fifth choice going in 8 to 1.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with scratches, but I'm gung ho on leadership ability today.
The LSFP, the last second Friday push. James _ Scully.
Hey, have a great Memorial Day weekend. Best of luck to everybody listening, Steve.
Thanks, James. You too, James Scully, folks. All right, there it is. Let me confirm. I think Brian Skirk is going to join us next for a quick hit, and more or less, this is we're doing some advanced work for next weekend because one of the most popular stops on the NHC tour is the Monmouth Pick Your Prize, and Brian Skirka, of course, he in the solar system of the NHC. Brian Skirka is definitely the sun.
I thought you were going to say Pluto.
No, Pluto. Everything in the NHC technically everything in the NHC revolves around Michelle Ravencraft, but and Holly Short. But in terms of the actual tour, Skirka's got his hands on more of these contest stops than anybody, and one of the big ones is coming.
Well, let's be, before we get into the important stuff, let's be very clear. The Sun, if Michelle, Holly, Keith, the whole NTRA team, they are the Sun. I'm happy if I'm Uranus, if I'm Pluto, sometimes a planet, sometimes not, depending on how you look at it. I'm very happy to just be in the solar system. But the whole NTRA team is the sun, the moon, and all of that. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
I love it. Well, it's a big couple of weeks because Brandon Lee is going to join us. And he's got his big activity on Monday. He's giving away eight seats on Monday, but then next Saturday, pick your prize. And I wanted to give you a couple of swings at this, give everybody the details and how they can reserve their spot.
Sure. So it's next Saturday, as you said, June 1st, $2,000 pick your prize handicapping challenge. We kind of market this one and set it up as the year's best opportunity to qualify for the NHC. The last 2 or 3 years, we've given out 25 NHC seats. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't match that number again this year. In addition, we also last year gave out 8 BCBC seats and nearly $100,000 in cash. So it literally is a pick your prize. The whole idea behind creating this contest was, to give people any opportunity. Some people just play for cash only. So if you finish first and you just want the cash, you can take 100% cash prizes. Some people obviously play for some combination of NHC and BCBC. So there's a literal prize board with all these prizes on it. If you're on site, you physically walk up to the board and take off the prizes that you want. We do a conference call after the contest for those that are playing remotely to just verbally say what prize they want. But it's a literal prize board with all these prizes on it. Last year, with 299 entries, which is just a phenomenal number, but just tantalizingly short of 300. So now we have the motivation to try to get over 300 this year. But with 299 entries last year, the 33rd place finisher ended up with an NHC seat.
Wow.
So this is not a contest where you need to, multiply your starting bankroll by 10 in order to get, some sort of prize. If you double your bankroll or 2.5 times your bankroll, you're right there in contention going into the last race. So we set it up to spread out the prizes. It's not a massive, first prize. We kind of evened out the prize. Obviously you get more if you win than if you finish 8th, but it's not some gigantic first prize and then minimal other prizes. We want to give out prizes to as many people as possible. And like I said, the 33rd place finisher last year got an NHC seat. So it's Monmouth races only. It's a $2,000 buy-in. 1,000 of that goes to your bankroll. 1,000 of that goes to the prize pool. Monmouth races only. You have to bet at least 5 races at $200 a piece. And it is win, place, show, exacta, double. I actually just found out, just shows how busy I've been and out of tune. I just found out that NYRA doesn't run next weekend.
Right.
So that actually benefits the contest. Normally we would have a 10-race card. With them not running, we're going to run 12 races, both Saturday and Sunday, to take advantage of that. So we'll have more races to choose from for the contest. We also have a smaller contest on Sunday, June 2nd, as kind of a added benefit for those players that come to play Pick Your Prize on site. You'll have 2 opportunities to qualify for the NHC, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. It's a $300 buy-in on Sunday. So contest starting a big way here at Monmouth next weekend.
Outstanding. We will check in again next week for them to reach you, bskirka@monmouthpark.com.
bskirka@monmouthpark.com. You do have to be pre-registered for this contest. There's no day of walk-ups. You can play on-site or online. FanDuel and ExpressBet are online partners. So if you're playing on-site or through TVG, you have to be pre-registered with me by noon Eastern on next Friday, May 31st. ExpressBet players can either sign up with me or you can sign up directly through ExpressBet the day of the contest. But if you're playing TV or FanDuel or on-site, you have to be pre-registered with me by noon on Friday. There is no day of walk-up if you're playing on-site.
Brian Skirka, everybody, and the action heating up as we inch much closer. I know we got all of June, but frankly, once we get through Belmont, the next thing rising on the horizon is the Haskell, and looking forward as well. Brian, we'll talk one more time, too. Next week, we'll hit it again, all right?
Thank you, Steve, so much.
My pleasure. Brian Skirka, everybody, and the Pick Your Prize, one of the most popular contests. So let's get him to 300. That's the objective. All right. Somehow, remarkably, we have gotten back. I don't know how we did it, but we're actually 4 minutes ahead of time. Amazingly. So let me go to Hammer, and we got a lot to do with Hammer actually, including. Although we can also, you know what, we can probably get Hammer on Monday too. Once that card gets drawn, the Shoemaker and the Gold Cup, and they'll be working on that today, and looking forward to it. I was impressed. I mean, the Cal Cup, the Calbred races are terrific tomorrow, but then the things pick up on Sunday with the with the Santa Monica and the Daytona, and then there's going to be Monday. So big weekend, Hammer. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm great.
Where are you?
I'm home.
You get to ask me. I get to ask you.
I'm home. I'm home now. I'm home until Haskell week. Oh, I take that back. I take that back. There's a real possibility that we're going to get out to Horseshoe for Indiana Derby. Actually, I just
when's that? Just
July 6th.
Okay.
July 6th.
I was wondering if it was any time near the Des Moines trip, if they could catch both of them, but no.
No, you cannot. July 6th is right, and and then Haskell is 2 weeks later. Then Whitney is then there's Iowa for the HPPA convention. Whitney is first Saturday in August. Million at Colonial is July 10th. Kings Plate is July 17th. Travers and Scott Blasi's birthday. Mark your calendar. Travers Day and Blasi the same day. Then Kentucky Downs. I mean, the summer's over.
And you know what? When you look at their calendar like that, it goes by almost as fast as you read it off.
Forget it. It's nuts. We got the 2 weeks plus of Kentucky Downs will be there. Keeneland, book one. Kentucky Downs closing day. Churchill opens. Presque Isle has thrown a curveball by moving the Masters from the 16th to the 20th, which leads into the Pennsylvania Derby and the Cotillion, as well as the Rittenhouse Square Art Show in Philadelphia.
Well, you got to do that. It's pretty funny.
Yes,
I talking to Brian, and I tell you, I was just thinking, you know how nicknames are made on a fluke thing, and you were talking, and he blurted out Pluto, and I'm thinking, boy, if I'm working there's a name right there, Pluto. If we were in the same office, that would be
it.
It would be tested today, and if it caught on, that might be it. But it was pretty. That's what I was thinking. I go, oh boy, he might have just gave himself a nickname without knowing it. But anyway, no, Brian is definitely closer to the sun when it comes to contests. There's no doubt about it. And to hear him read off all those prizes, because the time spent in March during the NHC, there were two tracks that came up as far as people getting there and having fun and making sure they get to the contest, was the Hawthorne contest and the Monmouth contest. Those were the two kind of out of the blue places that you heard more than anywhere to get there. So when you hear you got 33 prize, someone finished 33rd and got to the NHC.
Yep.
And pick your own prize. It's I can see why. When you hear it coming from him and he's explaining it, it's like, whoa. If I was a contest player anywhere near Monmouth, that's where I'd be. Is it next weekend or this weekend?
Next weekend. June 1st.
Next weekend. Yeah. So, and I heard Marcus, talk about you. I get a lot of play off of him because he brings stuff up and it gets me going. He's talking about taking the train, and younger, we took the train all over the place, down Mexico, here, there, whatever. And it reminds me, you can't take. There's no such animal as a train from Los Angeles to San Francisco. Right? You got to think that's crazy. Because San Francisco doesn't have a train station, so that pretty much knocks that out. So, as a kid or driving up all the years, you could never take a train there. You had to drive, so that's always kind of weird. And then growing up, I can remember talking about a bullet train to Las Vegas for 55 years now going on. That's since I was a kid, 10 years old, and now they're talking about it again. It's like 50 years later, they haven't done that, but we're so car oriented here that anything other than a car is gets a back seat. But anyway, it's pretty funny. John White, I know you probably talked to him the other day, but anyway, just wanted to acknowledge that John's hanging him up, and you know, anyone that's ever been around John or heard him, you know, dedicated race tracker. Done it all, and I told him we'll have to have a cold one to seal the deal, and we will. But just a good, great guy to be around, historian, and did it all really. And you mentioned you mentioned the odds over Sanity. I don't know who's doing them now. I'll have to find out. But it's like a Wally, you know, it's like a Wally Pip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't follow Elvis.
Exactly. Well, and Mark Ratsky, you know, who writes these you know, humorous emails, group emails, and he pointed out something, and certainly anybody that's listened to John all these years with me knows this. Mark acknowledged, you know, that John sends it in. I mean, John bets, and you know, there's plenty of people offering up opinions all over the place, you know, that I'm sure, you know, handicap and have opinions worth noting, but they don't necessarily bet the way somebody like John does. I mean, and you know, I've seen some people make some offhanded remarks when John, you know, talks about an advanced wager, a future wager in some cases, or so forth. When John tells you he bet $400, $800, $1,000, $200, whatever, that he's not making that up. For those that, you know, doubt the veracity, John bets. So that
no, absolutely does, and he's a very conservative bettor. But when when you like something, he goes, he bets.
Yes.
And you know, you mentioned that, and you know, if you've been around the game long enough, you can tell. I call them hollow handicappers, the ones that tout, but you know they're not going to the window. And big difference. But no, he'll be one of those guys he missed immediately. Like he's one of those guys where you find out what he did when he left. It's like, oh, he did that too. Oh, I forgot he did that too.
Yeah.
We got to fill that too. So, but anyway, good for him, and he'll be gone, but he'll be around. You know? So that'll be good.
Exactly.
Went to go see the Girl from North Country last night.
Oh, how was that?
Not what I expected. It was a story about life in Duluth, Minnesota in 1934, Depression situation, and it took place in a boarding house, and it showed it was not a happy type story, but the group that we saw, the cast of, I mean, just unbelievable voices. It's all the songs are written by Bob Dylan,
right?
But they're not. They're sung by the cast in all different ways and different formats. But just a fantastic performance. And at the end, it kind of hits home. But you know, be ready. Don't be ready for something you're not expecting when you go see it. But it was phenomenal at the end. At the end, they tell a story in the first half, and a lot more of the musical type in the second half. But definitely worth seeing. But it won't be what you expected.
Interesting. I saw. It's funny when I took Tina up to when I took her up to Griffith Park. Our Griffith Observatory. I saw the banners advertising it in April. And what theater's it at?
It's at the Pantages.
I was going to say, is that at the Pantages? Okay.
Yeah, and of course we have season tickets there, and that was one that I had circled, and I'll tell you how off people got. There were couple people in front of us. They left at halftime because I don't know if they thought they were going to go see a Bob Dylan concert or something. It was pretty deep, and you know, it's sometimes disturbing, dialogue going on there, but it was really heavy, and you know, they brought out it. They got out of it and kind of finalized the story. It really made you think. But the singing and the acting was just phenomenal.
Nice.
So it just carried it. So I would recommend it. But you know, like I said, be prepared for something that you weren't expecting. Like I said, a good way. So
nice.
If you could just imagine Duluth, Minnesota in 1934, that's what you're getting. So pretty wild. But we're not in Duluth, Minnesota here. We're in Southern California. And it's been a rather we're getting June weather in May. We have June gloom here, and usually May's more of a sunny type, but it's been cool in the mornings and we get some sun in the afternoon, but that's fine. I mean, it's in the 70s. It's do anything you want weather. You don't have to worry about the heat or you don't have to worry about the cold. So good 3-day weekend to start off summer maybe. But the first 2 days are drawn at Santa Anita. Came out really good, especially the Saturday.
Yep. Definitely.
The Calbreds sometimes don't participate in full, but it seems like this time they all showed up, so it's a good deal. So do you want to go over those? It's
absolutely.
Okay, part of the Coast to Coast. And I've asked for a couple weeks now to get me this Coast to Coast bet. Every time I look, the payoffs 10, 12. They had a one bagger a couple weeks ago for 100. I said, get me the payoff so we can talk about it. I'm don't quote me here, but they told me it's like the average payoff's around 10,000 for these Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
So keep your eye on them because they're cherry picking fields that are competitive. So if you want to get involved, $1 minimum, 15% takeout. The pool's right usually around 100 and 130 every year, at least for the Saturdays every week. So like I said, they've been paying off. So keep your eyes. We got 2 from Gulfstream and then 3 from Santa Anita as usual. Races 4, 6, and 8 at Santa Anita. So
all turf.
Are they all turf?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And that's pretty much the world's turning to turf. It's amazing. We've the percentage of turf racing throughout the country has just grown dramatically over the last 10, 15 years. But we love it, and it makes for close racing. So let's do it. So let's start with the Thor's Echo. So there's 5 Calbred races named after 5 Calbreds out there. So I thought I'd do a quick rundown of the named horses. So Thor's Echo is the sprint, and Thor's Echo, of course, was the 2006 Breeders' Cup Sprint winner. And you think, wow, I kind of don't remember that one, but I'm going to tell you there was 14 horses in there, and let me tell you, this is the most nondescript crew I've heard of. I'm going to quickly run through them. You stop me if you can think of something one of these horses did. Friendly Island, Nightmare Affair, Ordinaro, Attila's Storm, Too Much Bling, Warfront was in there. Siren Lure, Pomeroy, Kelly's Landing, of course, a nice sprinter, race named after him. Lewis Michael, Malibu Mint, Are You Talking to Me? And the post-time favorite, Henny Hughes. Not a real accomplished field there, but anyway, Thor's Echo won it, and hence he got a race named after him. Now there's a horse in here that if he was in that field would probably be 1 to 10. Talking about this.
Well, you got to pause about Thor's Echo for a second.
Okay.
There's a reason Thor's Echo won that race.
Okay.
Thor's Echo was the one horse, and the rail was unstoppable in that day. The rail was golden, absolutely golden.
Golden, Jerry. Okay, yeah. I do not recall that. So I'll give it to you. I mean, he horse was paid $30.
You have the chart. You're looking at the chart.
I am looking at the chart.
He was the one horse, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. The way the rail was.
In fact, it came in 1-2. The second horse was 58 to 1. Friendly Island. So.
Friendly Island, Barry Schwartz.
Yeah, that was correct.
Yes.
No, excuse me, Anstu.
Oh, okay. They're okay.
Anstu, trained by Todd Pletcher.
All right, that's true. There you go. All right.
So if I'm mistaken, 2006 was that the last of the single days? Did we start double days in 2007 in
Monmouth? Correct.
So this would have been the last. So it would have been the 6th race. Would have been an early race, which the sprint usually was. So maybe we wouldn't have had time to latch onto that bias early in the day.
No, it was they're subscribers or regular readers of Derby Trail were ready for that. I wonder if I could find what I wrote that morning, but they scraped that rail.
Okay.
Butch Lair and crew. I was there like from first thing in the morning. They scraped that rail, and
for some reason, back then, so not that long ago, but the racetracks on big days for some reason wanted fast times, and they used to do that all the time. I mean, this horse went 8-4, and who knows if he ever came close to that again. I mean, it's not like he was a prolific win type horse. He just was in the right place at the right time. A typical Doug O'Neill putting a horse in because he's ready to run, and poof, wins the Breeders' Cup. Pretty wild. But I looked at that field and I went, my gosh, I mean, it's just, somebody had to win.
And Henny Hughes blew the brake too, which didn't help.
Stumbled at the brake, correct. But he was 8-5 in there, so that kind of tells you. But pretty wild. I was going through that and I went, not much. But anyway, good for Thor Zecco. Like I said, he got the race named after him. And the horse we're talking about that would be 1-10 in that field we mentioned was the Chosen Brawn, who's 17 out of 22. I think he's going for his 17th or 18th stake and coming off a win in the Kona Gold. He's probably prepping here for the Bing Crosby, the Grade 1 down at Del Mar, which he won last year. And of course, the Breeders' Cup is down at Del Mar, and I think we'll kind of see him ease into that race. And he's a nice horse. So let's not even worry about picking against him. And he's got the rail. We'll see if it's golden. Big City Lights from the Mandela Barn just won the Palos Verdes. So 2 Calbreds won the 2 open stakes here, the last 2 open sprints. So that tells you something there. So those are the 2 there. Moving on to the Crystal Water. Now, Crystal Water was an early horse for me growing up here, going to the track. And he won in 1977 Sanity to Handicap. He won it by a nose over horse called Fala Rocky, who I like the name. But these 2 ding-donged it down the wire, and that was a 14-horse field. And horses like Ancient Title were in there.
Wow.
Like I mentioned Fala Rocky. Interestingly enough, 2 horses, King Pellinor and Properantes. King Pellinor was a super turf horse. Properantes, in fact, I think they both won the San Juan on the turf. And, hey, Mom, if they just throw him in there, let's go, Kirby Lane, Austin Mittler, who turned out to be a decent horse. That would happen to have been the horse that reared up in the gate with Alvaro Pineda. So always remember that name. But the Crystal Water Calbred was trained by Roger Clapp, and that was Connie Ring was the owner of the Hat Ranch, and just won a lot of races. But that would cap them off. If you want to hear the call, Chick Anderson does it on YouTube, and so that's the Crystal Water. So they're going a mile on the turf, and I don't know if Crystal Water ever saw that, but anyway, here the race to be named after him. Kings River Knight looks, is going to be the heavy favorite, probably deservingly. He's done well in his Calbred career. He dipped down to Open Company last time in a lounge race and just, ran through the TV, ran 100 fire, as you heard Haggerty mention. Carmelita's Man, Dean Pedersen. For some reason, I have Pipey in my mind. This horse was maybe a Pipey horse years ago, but a win type. He's won 8 races, made a lot of money on the turf. Maybe he's ready to come back into it, but you got to go through Kings River Knight here. The 2 Coalinga Road from Carla Gaines made a lot of money, named after an earthquake. Named after a town that had an earthquake, Coalinga. But it's a funny story about that. I was working up in the Bay Area at the time, and they had an earthquake. And this is the town. Harris Farms is actually in Coalinga. John Harris's ranch. But this town's more centrally located, and the downtown was made of brick buildings. And when the earthquake came, like the whole downtown literally just collapsed because it was all made of brick in the 80s, 82, 83. And at that time, I was in a landscaper with a buddy of mine, and they had like a brick run. If you needed bricks, they had to clean up the town. You would go there, you could load up your truck and come home with bricks. So there's a lot of Coalinga bricks around the Bay Area from that earthquake. Pretty funny. But Coalinga Road, Carla Gaines has shown a little life last time, and might be another horse to use on the bottom. Moving on, friends. Valentine, a very useful filly, trained by Joe Manzi in the 80s. I just kind of remember her as being there in a lot of good races. Pinkai rode her. Green Thumb Farm is the owner, and the breeder was Earl Scheib.
Love it. Yeah.
Anyone who's especially from Southern California and watch TV as a kid, always cut in with Earl Scheib. I'll paint any car, any size for $29.95, and then of course you got $15 free metal work. I still remember those commercials from wherever, but he was the car painting king of Southern California. But and a big horse contributor as well, breeder, owner, and Earl Scheib. There he is. So the Franz Valentine. This race has got a little to it. After going top and bottom, and I come up with the bottom horse, Doug O'Neill, who's been competitive in open stakes, drops back down to his friend to play with his friends here, and the Franz Valentine going to have to overcome the outside post. I don't think that's a problem, as you know. That never bothers me. But Stay and Scam for the O'Neill barn. A little bit of underneath work with maybe Tam's Little Angel. Steve Specht, who anytime we throw up some Calbred money, Steve Specht is a Northern California stalwart. Trains for the Williams, Mr. and Mrs. Larry Williams. I mean, they're in every stake there is with their Calbred, their breeding program. But Steve's in here with Tam's Little Angel. Has some experience on the synthetic. See if it carries over. Might get a little bit of a price on her. And Madhia, Craig Delassie, looking at the numbers at the sheets on the stretch out. Second time going long, going 1.1 miles. Might be all right and might sneak in at a decent price too. So 11.11 over the 6.8 there. And so we move on to the Snow Chief. Now, obviously, probably well known to some of the later comers, but Snow Chief is a real nice horse, trained by everybody's friend and wonderful person, Mel Studi. He had back when horses ran, and if you had a horse that was hard enough, you wanted it in the hands of Mel Studi because he loved to run. So his 2-year-old year, he won the Del Mar Futurity, the Norfolk, which is now the American Pharoah. And the Hollywood Futurity, and then at 3, he had quite a run. He won the El Camino Real Derby, the Florida Derby, the Santa Ana Derby, threw in a clunker in the Kentucky Derby, wheeled right back, won the Preakness, and won the Jersey Derby, all before June in his 3-year-old year, and then came back and ended up winning the Oaklawn Handicap and a few other races. But Snow Chief is a local favorite here. Anyway, very well deserving of having a race named after him. And this is for 3-year-olds going 1.8 miles on the grass. And this race has could go a few directions. I kind of having a little trouble here, but Antonio Garcia has a couple. And the 5 Curlin's Chaos stretched out. I mean, on the turf, went the mile last time. Looks like he can carry the distance. He tried one couple times before, did not get disgraced. Might be a price. The 5, the 1 horse, Shady Tiger, of course. Phil D'Amato can never leave him out of turf racing. Never gone this far. Ran down the hill. Ran like he looks he could go. Go the 1.8 mile distance. So 1.5 maybe over the 2.4. The 4, named 2x4, is Craig Lewis. And I'd say what, Craig, with these clubhouse rides, he on the big days, I don't know, the last 5 or 6 big days, he shows up. So 2x4, ran a decent race last time, going 1 mile on the turf, in allowance company, but he maybe woke up a little bit. So I could use him on the bottom. I'm 5-1 over 2.4, something like that, for the Snow Chief. And then of course we get to the Melaire, another filly. For some reason I associate her only with Hollywood Park, and that's where she won her races. 1986, she kind of tuned up, and this was one of the horses that put John Sadler into the next level. The real filly. So she was She is a gray filly. It's amazing how sometimes you can remember. I mean, I remember seeing her on the track. It's just pretty wild. She was 5 for 5 in her short career. Won the Railbird, the Princess, and the Silver Screen all over at Hollywood Park. But the way she did it was phenomenal. So this, like I said, this helped John. I don't know, like I said, get to the next level, and of course he went on from there. But 1986, so what's that? It's like 40 years ago. And like I said, it's amazing. Remember these races. So the aforementioned Steve Specht has a horse called Grand Slam Smile in here for the Williams. 4 out of 6, second a couple times. No reason why she shouldn't run good in here too. Probably be the chalk, and in these state bred races, sometimes you need to settle. Horse on the outside, Roberta's Love for Hector Palma. Came off won the Evening Jewel, which is a short, so it'll be her first time going around 2 turns. This race is 1 mile and 16th, 7-horse field, but 4-7 in there. And we didn't look at the last race, but 11-horse field. All the races are Calbreds. Like I said, they stepped up pretty good. Sunday, nice card put on. They're drawing the Monday today, so I was going to try and get a couple names, but I didn't. Monday will be the Grade 1 Shoemaker, the Grade 1 Gamely, and the Hollywood Gold Cup for what older horses are left to run. Sunday, a couple of the stakes you mentioned, the Santa Margarita. The not a whole lot to say in there. The Apple Blossom winner is back at Dare Manor. For Bob, I don't know how you beat her. Coffee in Bed, who we missed her by 1. I remember talking about her in the Beholder.
Right.
Clunker, and then came back and did score last time. So maybe she's waking up. But you gotta go through the Baffert barn to win that. And then we come to the Daytona, one of our favorite races. I think I've got to be 20 years old since we started that. And once again, this was named after the car race. Yes, it was. And we used to run it on Daytona Sunday. But it's been all over the place now. But a nice event, and always draws well. We got 11, 12 horses in here. The outside horse could be a factor.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
Almendaris. Yep.
And this horse is also nominated to the Shoemaker. So I'm not sure if he's looking at it, but I did look at the nomination list this morning. I did see that he was nominated to the race. So I'm looking a little bit further inside. There's a lot of veteran horses here that use the hill and run down it. And the 2, 3, 4 look pretty good to me. Mucho de Oro, a win type. He's won 9 of his 18 races. He's won down the hill 4 times. Air Force Red, a veteran who has, he's the classic down the hill horse. He has those miles in him, but then he turns that over and uses it down the hill, of course, but he's won on 2 as well. And then first piece from Mark Platt, coming off a good second in the Siren Lure. So a lot of contention in here down the hill for the Daytona, the last race of the day. So 2 days in and one to go. So I think be a good 3-day weekend here at Santa Anita.
No, big time. And I knew the Calbred Day, Calbred Day does what it does. But then when I pulled up Sunday and went through, I just started printing. I started printing from the 6th race, which is the late pick 5. And, 1 mile turf, second level allowance, then a state bred maiden group going 4.5. These are 2-year-olds, obviously. Then a mile maiden special that's got form to it. That's got a big full overflow field. Then the Santa Margarita, on and on. Daytona. It's a really attractive card. And then on Sunday, on Monday, I should say, they'll draw today the Shoemaker, the Gold Cup, and the Gamely. So 2 Grade 1s. It's kind of weird to see the Hollywood Gold Cup as a Grade 2, but there's a few.
That's
races
what that's what it is now,
exactly.
And a lot of those older races are whatever. We'll deal with that a little bit more. But anyway, it's good. I was kind of in transit on Preakness Day. Didn't get to see a lot of the show. Did see the race, and any of us who watched Pimlico in the past knew basically that race was over. You go,
Yep.
Going into the first turn. Wow, forgot about him. Shoo, see you later. So I mean, congratulations, obviously, to Wayne and having that horse wheel back too. In a couple weeks and do it. So fantastic, Tim. I'll go into this later. It's nothing new, but there are a lot of bet downs. I mean, I think I've made 3 wagers on Friday. They all cashed, and they all were like, what? They paid what? So I'm doing what I can to look into that stuff. That's all I can tell you. Bet them at 4-1 and they pay, $620. It's just so bothersome. It's such a turnoff. But let's not leave it on that kind of note. But I'm glad we got through the Preakness. And geez, what do we count down to the Belmont? Right, 2 weeks or 1 week?
1 week.
2 weeks.
I mean, essentially,
1 week.
I mean, it'll be Belmont week. For next week, and we'll be broadcasting all week from the track. Looking forward to that. A couple of things, Rick, I want to slip in about this weekend at Santa Anita.
Yes.
You do have on Saturday, tomorrow, you have a $500 Santa Anita challenge. That's an online 2 seats. So express bet tomorrow for the Santa Anita challenge, $500. And then the litany of stuff going on the next, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. In addition to obviously the racing, you got the carnival in the infield for the families. You've got the beer festival Saturday and Sunday. You've got this barbecue contest, invitational going on, tasting, smorgasbord barbecue invitational, and most importantly, maybe the Corgi Nationals. The Corgi Nationals. Come on, can't miss that. The Corgis will be out running up the racetrack and doing their antics. And there's also the poker tournament, the Folds of Honor. It's a big weekend. I was out there one time. I've been out for this weekend, and it was really fun.
Well, with the infield, it gets full play, and it's fun because they have the Corgi time trials, whatever you want to call them, in the infield, and you can kind of go over there, kind of watch how it works. And I will tell you this: the last couple of years we've had them, I've gone over to watch it, and you know what? It's like going out in the morning. So when it comes time there, and so you can, the guy next to you, when they do the down the stretch, you can go, I think I'll take that one. You want that one? Okay, good. It's pretty funny because they run the way they do in the morning out there.
They're formful. They're
very formful. And then on Monday, speaking of contests, I believe it's a $1,500 contest on Monday as well, which will garner a few seats to the big dance. And big carnival, big thing. And then the barbecue is very good as well. Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you did because I lost my sheet on that. But big weekend in Santa Anita, and the weather's going to be just right. As I was saying, it's not too hot. It's not just perfect. So not too many weekends left here. We'll have this one at Belmont, and then they shut it down the 16th, which is creeping closer and closer. Exactly. So next Friday will be what? What's the date next Friday?
The end of the month, Saturday,
the 31st.
Yeah.
Okay, so we still got time. Yeah, I was going to say I'm not going to be there next Friday. I'll be there the Friday after that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. The 7th. The Belmont's on the 8th. So we got a couple weeks here. You were scaring me there with the 1 week.
Well, for me, it's 1 week. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. No. You're
all right.
Hammer. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So have a great weekend, everybody.
All right. Maybe we'll touch base Monday once we got that card set.
Absolutely.
All right.
Sounds good to me. All right. Be good.
Away they go. Rick Hammerly, everybody. And I've got, it's unbelievable what topics trigger everybody. It's, there's certain things that I bring up that definitely trigger certain listeners. In this case, it's the conversation about that James and I had about game show hosts. I appreciate a couple of notes here. Charlie in Lexington, Charlie brings up Groucho Marx, and that's very fair. My father and I would watch when Channel 5 in New York. I guess you got to be a certain age for this too. They started running You Bet Your Life like at, I don't know, was it like 9:30 or 10:30 weeknights? Do you remember this? They would run You Bet Your Life. And I had never, I mean, obviously I wasn't old enough when it first aired to watch Groucho, but it was so funny. So, just unbelievably, you want to talk about quick-witted. Groucho off the cuff. So yes, good job, Charlie. Groucho Marx, You Bet Your Life. Then John Egan here in Albany, John mentions, I left out Peter Marshall, and he's right. He's right. Peter Marshall was very quick on Hollywood Squares. And of course, technically, the Squares were, they were also game show hosts. They were, it wasn't just the host that was teeing off. But then Steve Sarahan, he mentions should throw out Drew Carey with Price is Right, and of course Barker for so many years. I'm old enough to have seen Truth or Consequences. That was all of our first introduction to Bob Barker, was Truth or Consequences. And if I'm not mistaken, before Bob Barker, didn't Ralph Edwards? I think Ralph Edwards there, and I don't know if you bet. What was that called? This Is Your Life. That wasn't a game show, but I think Ralph Edwards hosted Truth or Consequences before Bob Barker, and then Barker got Price is Right. But Drew Carey, that's a good one, Steve. And he tells me Zoe Cadman apparently was on The Price is Right about a month ago. I missed this. How is this not common knowledge and popularized on the Twitter? Zoe Cadman on The Price is Right. Tina and I went to The Price is Right when the last trip she was in L.A. Our friend Gary got us tickets, and should look in on Gary. We didn't get selected. We just sat in the audience, but it was a lot of fun, I must say. It was a lot of fun. All right, let me get the easiest. We're so easily knocked offline. Brandon Lee is going to join us. I spelled my middle name the same as his last. Brandon's going to join us, and it's, as I mentioned, a big weekend at Lone Star. And of course, we're all frustrated about not being able to bet, but that doesn't mean that some of you can't get to Grand Prairie for Monday and participate in the big contest there, because 8 seats at least will be given out. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm great. And boy, you want to talk about titans of the contest world, you and Brian Skirka on the same show.
Yes, thanks for having me. We are very excited about our huge tournament weekend coming up this weekend.
Well, 2 seats tomorrow, 2 seats on Sunday, but it's the big one on Memorial Day, and you've got a terrific card to back it up, including the Grade 3 Steve Sexton Mile, the Ouija board, the Texas Derby, which came up very good, 10-horse field, Informed Patriot, and Awesome Road, and Real Men Violin, and so forth. Nice field. EJ Won the Cup shows up for O'Neill out of his third in the Santa Anita Derby as well. Sappy Joseph shows up with General Ledger. Anyway, the card is terrific. Tell everybody, let's get them to come to Grand Prairie on Monday, because you throw a great contest.
Absolutely. So the contest, this is our biggest contest we do all year. It's a 3-day weekend event. So Saturday and Sunday, we're going to give away 2 NHC seats each day. Plus, that the 2 seats allows everyone to also earn tour points for all of those out there that are chasing tour points. And then also you can win at a 1 in 15 ratio your $2,500 bankroll into Monday. So it really is an all weekend thing. We've had some individuals win 2 NHC seats out of the weekend. You know, you can't win 2 in the same day, but you can win 2 over the course of the weekend and just go ahead and get double qualified right here at Lone Star Park. And then on Monday, that NHC seat is 8 guaranteed. And then we will add a 9th if we get up to 90 entries and a 10th if we get up to 100 entries and so on. For every 10 entries, I believe we're the only ones giving out NHC seats at that 1 in 10 ratio. So as far as value, this is one of the most valuable tournaments any player can come to. In addition to that, we don't take, this is a zero takeout tournament. So all $2,500 of your bankroll is yours to use. We're putting up all of the prize money and all the costs for the seats to try to drive handle and get people here to Lone Star Park, and just doing everything we can to put the best show on we can.
Well, and you've got an outstanding reputation among players for taking care of them when they come to Lone Star, and easily accessible from Dallas Metro. And what do they have to do? Pre-register?
You don't even have to pre-register. If you can show up on Monday and you got cash, we will get you into the tournament. And like you said, we're very accessible. We have 2 major hub airports here in DFW, and we're not that far from either one. So, check those airfares and try to come in. We are, we're very proud of our facility and proud of what we're able to pull off. And we draw good crowds here at Lone Star and have good on-track handle. So I realize, for everyone else out there in the other states, can't bet on us right now. And we hope that changes in the near future. But, we're just doing what we can at the track level to put on the best show we can and make the most of what we have to do.
Well, the Lone Star Million betting challenge, and in terms of number of seats divided into players, it's one of the most attractive, if not the most attractive ratio anywhere. We always talk about that. So encourage people, if you haven't, if you don't have firm plans, try to make your way to Dallas, and Brandon will make sure you enjoy the day. And the racing, the card came up fabulous.
Thanks, Steve, and we hope to have a great crowd. The forecast looks great. It looks like we're not going to have any rain this weekend, so should be a great weekend of racing here at Lone Star.
Excellent. Up to 3 entries per person allowed as well. So make your plan. Brandon will be watching. We'll be watching for tweets and leaderboard updates and winners.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Not at all. Brandon Lee, everybody. Let's close out the morning. And this has been a fun 3 hours. Going to have KK join us, and I let him know that I hadn't forgotten him. Most often when he's on, it's in the first hour, but and I hope it's not a problem, because I'm just realizing, I mean, they got a race day. I think he's got 16 minutes for me. I don't see why not, right? KK, am I calling you too late?
No, I mean, you're kind of ruining the Price is Right for me right now, but
with all this conversation about game shows.
Yeah, right. You got the game shows. I mean, Zoe Cadman, I'm very jealous that she was on the Price is Right, and it's the perfect pregame to a 9-race card at Churchill Downs today.
What if you were on the Price is Right? Which game do you think you'd be most proficient at?
Proficient is probably going to be. Gosh, that's tough, because you want to play Plinko, right? That's the game everyone wants to play on the Price is Right. But there's zero skill involved in that, except for picking the prices of those the prizes to get the Plinko chips. And if I would get, less than 5 Plinko chips, I'd be very disappointed in myself. The piggy bank game always seems to be a hiccup for some people. I feel like I'm always doing well at that game. I think I'd be most proficient at that.
I used to I like the over under on price tag, right? Do they still do that? Where
Yeah, that's a quickie game though. So that's like you're in and out. I want to be involved in a game.
I gotcha.
I want to spend the time on stage with Mr. Carey and really,
milk it.
Milk my fame on The Price is Right.
That way, everybody on the backstretch, it would become a legendary appearance. I don't think you know this about me, but I'm a complete Price is Right nerd. I used to skip class in college to watch The Price is Right. Okay, now you're scaring me. And why is it on? Why is it on at 11 o'clock in Louisville?
I don't know. It was always on 11 o'clock in Pennsylvania too when I was a kid.
Was it? I remember it more in the afternoons for some reason. Maybe I'm.
Well, afternoon is usually nap time for that target audience. So I mean, you got to get in the morning. It's usually peak form for that audience in the morning.
I remember coming home from school, and I had a ritual. I would make little pizza on Thomas's English muffins, and we would watch a game show or two.
That's how I became an early lunch guy, is because I would always eat lunch at 11 o'clock during The Price is Right. So everyone would make fun of me for eating, early lunches. And I'm like, no, you eat lunch when The Price is Right comes on. I usually let the first 2 pricing games go on, and then around the third game is when I'm cooking up my chicken nuggets in the microwave.
Unbelievable. You wouldn't be one of those people that showed up like in a shirt that Drew, saying something to Drew or pick me.
Nah, I'm not that crazy.
All right, good.
I'm not that nuts.
All right. Well, I'm glad we established that. So at the very least,
I'm nuts, but I'm not that nuts.
Well, and of course, this is the mindset that has brought professional wrestling into a relationship with Churchill too. You and all the wrestling nerds have created the belt, the championship belt for the Derby winning team.
Hey, that was all WWE. They came with the championship belts for both Mystic Dan and the McPeak team, and they came with them, and it was all the WWE in partnership with NBC, and so that was an official WWE belt.
Wow. If ever there was somebody that looked like Bruno Sammartino, it was McPeak holding that belt.
and it became a present for Frank Bernice, Brian Hernandez's jock agent, and I've never seen Frank as happy as he was. I called Frank about 2 hours after the Derby ran just to check on him, and it sounded like he was already in bed, and that's just the type of guy Frank is. Showed zero emotion, wasn't even at the track, he was at home. And the next morning, I knew Frank was a wrestling guy. I saw him in the front row when Raw was in New Orleans this winter time, and Norm and I sent a picture. We're like, "There's Frank. He's sitting in the front row," and Brian gave him that championship belt, and I've never seen Frank as happy as he was. He didn't care about the Derby trophy or probably the Derby check. He cared about that championship trophy, that championship belt.
That is tremendous. I love it. Well, I want to. We'll get a couple of licks in about the weekend racing, but. And you guys are drawing all the way through to Monday, and Monday's card is outstanding. But tell everybody about the start of your Veteran Horseman video interviews and features that kicked off with Jimmy Baker, because this was a great idea. You and I kind of talked about this, I think, while I was in town, and it'll be really a treasury. The more horsemen you talk to, this will be invaluable.
Yeah, I wanted to do this for a little while, and just the timing hasn't worked out well with some of the other things that we've been promoting at the track. But, day in and day out, I see so many, veteran trainers that are just down on horses right now on the backside of Churchill Downs, and they don't forget how to train a racehorse, right? They've been in this game for a long time. And so Jimmy Baker led off this series And it was 2 weeks ago when I put out the Jimmy Baker article, and it's, you see Jimmy, who, had such a, remarkable stable for many years between New York and Kentucky, and he's got 8 horses back there right now. And it's like, he hasn't forgotten how to train a horse, and there's many people like Jimmy. And so I just want to figure out a way to try and get some of these trainers back into the limelight, to be able to share their stories, share what they're going through right now as, trying to run their business with, less horses. It's very difficult, as we all know, of, trying to garner the top clients to send horses. And then you have to have some, investments come about your way from your personal standpoint as a trainer, if you're trying to have more horses, hiring more help, this, that, or the other. And so Jimmy kicked off the series. We're gonna have a couple of really neat stories from some trainers on here. Gary Red Dog Hartledge is one that we'll be having this weekend. Red Dog's got 2 horses right now on the backside of Churchill. He wants to get up to about 4 horses to take to Oaklawn next winter. So he's sort of got that goal in mind. He's got 2 of his horses. He's got his whole stable entered between Saturday and Monday here at Churchill Downs. And we'll have someone like Donnie Habib. Steve Margolis is way down on horses. He's been in the game for a long time. Just names like that, of names that we've known for a long time here in Kentucky, just trying to get their names back in the headlines.
Well done. And also at the same time, the opportunity to talk about their careers and things. One thing that I've always felt we should be doing a better job is recording the coaching tree. Asking everybody who they worked for, and then kind of building one of those flow charts of for remember who came from where, who came out from under. It'd be nice to have that as a as something that's etched in stone. I've wanted to do that myself forever too.
And like Jimmy Baker, Brad Cox, that was his one of his first jobs, was working as a hot walker for Jimmy Baker and a groom. And Brad's father actually bought him his first horse that was, trained under Jimmy, that Brad sort of, took ownership of while he was working in Jimmy's barn. And that's how he got his start. And so, we always hear Brad with, Dallas and some others, but he really was underneath that Jimmy Baker tree. And there's so many others too that, go, under these smaller trainer names and really get their start. So I love that idea too. My criteria was sort of, they're in the industry for more than 30 years as either a trainer or an assistant, or an exercise rider, and they train less than 30 horses. So that's sort of my criteria as I'm going through this series throughout the spring and into the fall.
Good for you. I love it. Last night, you had a little bit of a weather delay. One thing I did notice yesterday that was just kind of weird. It happened that there was a pick 3 in the second, third, and fourth, and I don't even know how. I guess I just heard it with Travis, announcing whoever was in the winners, doing the listing of the horse. That winner in the second that Steve Asmussen sent out with Keith Curlin's in charge, Frank Jones, co-breeder, and then in the third, Coexist won for Grant Forster, and the late Governor Jones bred that one, and then in the fourth, Cool Quartet won as the favorite. For Jose D'Angelo, a horse that Dream Walking that the late Toby Keith bred. I just thought it was kind of a weird. I heard the one name, then the next, and then the third, and I was like, wow. We've lost all 3 here within a calendar year.
It's crazy. Then 3 powerhouse names too of this industry that have put a lot of time and dedication into the horse racing industry. And it's always neat to see their names in the programs. Yeah. And that was just sort of a weird coincidence last night in those 3 races.
Yeah. I should also mention that Bo Bromagen and Michael DeHeer's Neon Icon, a nice winner yesterday, that allowance win going 1.25 miles.
Yeah, and snuck that one in on the MTOs, was the only MTO that was entered in that race. And looked like a winner almost the entire way around there. Got some pressure up the backside early on from Maria's Revenge, and really shook that challenge off and drew away, won by 5.5 lengths. And odds of 1-2. And yeah, very impressive winner. I think some bigger things are in the future for this filly.
I just wanted to see 81 Buyer is now 2 for 2. This is yet another Arrogate that busted out. So keep an eye on this 3-year-old filly. Looks like she, tell you what, take another step or two forward. I'm sure Rusty's got Alabama in the back of his mind already with her. She broke her maiden, right? Broke her maiden going a mile and a 16th.
Yeah, already proven at a mile and a quarter distance. Went 2:04 and 4 yesterday, and did so very easily. So yeah, the speed figure wasn't anything to
nothing wrong with that.
Jaw at, but
it's all right.
Your second start, yeah, not bad.
Yeah, Rusty's not squeezing that lemon dry early. Turn to the weekend a little bit, and certainly the card on Monday. And I think James said he is off, so I'll do some of this with Nick Tamaro on Monday. Maybe we'll we'll arrange to get Nick and Travis together for a little session. And for those that haven't looked ahead yet, the Winning Colors obviously is the feature, but it's a terrific card.
It's unreal, Steve. It's 7 of the 9 races are either maidens or allowances or the stake, featuring the Winning Colors in race 8. $250,000 for the 21st running. Dazzling Blue is the tepid 5-2 morning line choice in there. Got several stakes winners in there. Got the speedy BG Warrior, who will be setting the pace up front with Albin Jimenez and seeing if you can play Catch Me If You Can on her. Really fun race. And then the first 2 races are both claiming races, but race 3 is a field of 10 for a maiden auction, and then it goes to either allowances or stake and closes with a very competitive maiden special weight contest in race number 9, first post 12:45 p.m. Eastern time. It's a great card, and save those bullets for Monday because it's going to be one solid race after another.
No line yet, but there's a lot of speed in that Winning Colors, and the horse from down inside is probably, it's not the only horse from off the pace. Clearly Unhinged can press or come from off, but Royal Spa down inside is a little intriguing to me, and she happens to be 2 for 2 at Churchill, and she might be a decent enough price. What do you think Royal Spa is price wise?
She's going to be 8-1 on the morning line.
That's me.
That's Stephen L. Bick.
Royal Spa, and this is a Violence filly, a homebred for Breffney Farm and Rudy Brissett, who, by the way, very quietly, Brissett is 3 for 6 at the meet.
Yeah, he's having a great meet, great time in Kentucky. He's off to a great start, and hopefully today, Steve, on today's card, I know Scully always gives sort of the last second push. In the opener on today's card, a Hall of Fame trainer just walked into our office who I think is going to get off the duck in today's opener. Philharmonic for Nicholas Pizzuto.
Ah!
Oh, I said hello.
Well, you come say hello. You got 2 minutes. I know that's not enough for you.
Shalom.
Shalom to you.
God bless you. The shows are incredible.
Thank you,
and
Nick.
And the Blue Man was a Hall of Fame show if there ever was one. That's incredible.
Well, he came up that day, Nick. He came up live at Pimlico to see me that morning, and so it's the best tape. It was the best tape to run, because he was right in front of me, and so that made it even. Not that he wasn't great on the phone, but I mean, you knew him. Gosh, you knew him as well and as long as anybody.
Well, I couldn't thank you enough. You saw my text. Thank you for that.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't thank you enough. That was incredible. I mean, that's what sports is about. In racing, I don't have to tell you. I guess somehow I'm still a character. I guess.
You guess.
You need more, and Blue was certainly one that just brought it out, and everybody loved them, and that's what the game needs. It just needs. I think because it needs you. Glad you're on. That's good.
They're the greatest. How about a quick your thoughts about the first 2 legs of the Crown? What you, Mystic Dan?
I'm glad you said that, the Crown, because I think if Majestic Dan. And by the way, the Dan horses. You know what I'm talking about. I was scary because I was hoping for the rain, and as you know, Churchill does a great job with drying out of the track, and they still had some wet in it, so I really liked him a little bit, but I didn't use my head. Now I'm rooting for him, obviously, but then I thought about something, Steve. I don't know how you feel, but the Triple Crown is supposed to be hard, and if it's 1.25 miles, I know, why it is. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, you see, you said the Crown, because then what are you going to have to call it, the Crown? And not the Triple Crown? Because if Dan won, right? If he won,
Yep.
now he goes. Now we got stories about Asterisk. We got stories about it. It's not
You're
a
right.
mile and a
That's
half.
true. That's true.
So, and here's the thing. I don't see why they can't start it around the turn, because you're still going past the fans, ain't you? First time?
It wasn't even. It was never about. It was never about the racetrack side. It was about you couldn't put any people. The building was only going to hold 10,000, 12,000. Well, there was no point. This is people are so excited, Nick. And this thing's going to be off the charts exciting, and it was off the charts exciting to be able to say hello. I'm glad you walked in when you did.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? I guess if it was a Triple Crown, you couldn't get into a restaurant.
You can't now. They say they say there's not a booking to be had, except for you, because you got the, you can.
The only thing is like, no, but the only thing is, like Blue said, he's a little short, so Steve, I might have to ask.
Too funny. Too funny.
Anyway, no,
Nick.
but listen, but God bless you, and great job, and I'll put you back with your main man. Hold on.
I appreciate it. And KK, that was fabulous. What a great wrap.
Yeah, that was a great last second appearance there. I figured you'd enjoy that.
Happy Memorial Day to everybody in the Ville. I'm still upset that you burned down the Krispy Kreme. Very upsetting.
So am I. Just force you to go to King Donuts next time.
Horse racing, KK, everybody. Terrific weekend ahead at Churchill, and a terrific weekend that we will pick up with you on Monday morning. We'll do recap, but we'll also be handicapping and enjoying what should be a fabulous day of Memorial Day racing Monday. Good luck. We're headed to Rochester to the baby's first birthday. Marley turns 1. Thanks to KK, Nick, Brian Skirka, Callie Francois, Marcus Hirsch, Scully, Hammer, Brandon Lee, and Nicholas P. Zito popping up like a genie on game show host weekend preview at the races. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you Monday.
Fall on the apple. Lord, there goes a Buick 49. Black sheep of the angels riding down the line. We think there is a soul. We don't know. That soul is hard to find. If you're after getting the honey, then you don't go killing all the bees. It's what the people are saying. It's what the people are saying. There ain't no berries on the tree. It's what the people are saying. The berries on the tree. You're checking out the honey, baby. You have to go killing all the bees. Hey-o! Second time, you both shut.
Breaking down the biggest stories in the world of horse racing. This is At the Races with Steve Bick on SiriusXM Radio.